Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Today we're addressing a very serious issue. And it's an issue I noticed several years ago when I received my dream job at an unknown historically black college in Tennessee. Unnamed. I'm not going to name them because it's small and there's some warriors there, and I don't want to get them in trouble. I'm no longer there, but I'm looking out for their interest. Uh, well, I had a dream job. I got hired as a professor, which was always my goal since a child. So they certified me as a professor. So I'm actually a real professor. And if that wasn't good enough, uh, the white college down the street called Rhodes College, one of the professors there had a relationship, a business relationship, or with a congressman, and got word of mouth that there was $100 million or so available for COVID-19 research, and he filed a grant, got it. But the caveat was for the grant to execute, they needed a minority serving institution on the grant. And I was the only historically black college in the area, so I picked it up. I was kind of like the X-Men, you know what I'm saying? Because I was like the statistician, and the guy at Rhodes was you know, the mouthpiece, and this was one of the best experiences of my life. Well, why am I bringing this up? I'm not bragging. I'm bringing this up because with that amount of clearance, money, and a little prestige, I was writing a congressional report. I had access to records and long story short, I had to compile a lot of data on COVID-19. And what I noticed right away was in Memphis, Tennessee, um, some of the highest um, rates of, the jab were coming from churches. And I was like, huh? Because, I was looking at health departments and clinics and hospitals. The hospitals weren't that cooperative with me, but medical schools, one medical school, school of nursing, and I'm getting all this data, and I started looking at the numbers, and I was like, wow, these mega churches have. Matter of fact, the institution with the highest rate of vaccination was a church that I attended, mind you, a Baptist church in the black community. So that kind of got my attention, and when I looked into it, I was like, what I discovered was a lot of these pastors, these uh, black pastors were getting money, grant money for giving the jab to their congregation. Now, I'm still looking through paperwork to make sure I didn't sign an NDA before I talk about the jab space. Some of my data, I don't think I signed an NDA. But I'm making absolutely sure before I talk about it. But I tell you, when that space opens, there's going to be 10,000 people in there because I learned some shit about that whole COVID-19 issue. That hopefully will come out under the Trump administration. But back to the pastors got my full attention because they were giving people a jab that was not fully researched. If you y'all recall back during COVID-19, that jab came out real fast, and it wasn't fully. I did my research on it because and I'm just going to be open with this, be transparent. The institution, my dream job institution that I worked at, made me take the jab. I had to take it. I had to take both of them. And in a way, I really regret that. We're going to talk about that in a couple months. But I had to keep it then to keep my job. They hired me on and then was like, oh, by the way, you know, you got to do this to stay here. So I was in a real fucked up position to pay bills. I had to do it. Well, and I learned a lot about it. Some things that are real frowny face, you know what I'm saying? But back to the pastors. The pastors were, in essence, subjecting their congregation to something that was unstudied, and I got deep in thought about that, and was like, man, why would you do that? And of course, I found out that money was involved. So, the question du jour is, why are pastors lying to us about deportation? And furthermore, do we trust pastors? Now, let's talk a little history. In my book, I did research, like from the issue that I just brought up about me doing COVID-19 research and with institutions and noticing that churches had the highest amount of vaccination in that area. A couple churches did. I became real curious about pastors in the Black community, and I wrote an article in my book that said share that identified the origin of Black pastors. And what I found out really shocked and surprised me. What I found out is during during the slave trade or during chattel slavery in the United States. Um, it was decided to really based off of John Locke's philosophy. Willie Lynch gets a lot of credit for it, but I'm going to leave that out of there. But it was decided that it would be best to hit the enslaved blacks with physical and psychological, a one-two punch, if you will. Um, Elements of slavery. And the psychological element, one of the main psychological elements was the slave Bible. So basically, um, uh, snippets of the Bible, of the Holy Bible, King James Version, were compiled together. These snippets were pieces of textual evidence that supported slavery, one of which is slaves be um, honor your masters. Her hair is her glory, and the thing about Ham, the curse of Ham, and so what I learned that really surprised me was the overseers or slave masters, if you will, would pick a stud. And now, when I say stud, I don't mean that in the LGBTQ sense. I mean stud as in a man who was creating babies. The man who they selected to do stud service to our sisters, thereby creating more enslaved stock. Well, they would pick a stud who could talk and train him to be a pastor to slow down uprisings. So this stud service would I call him the cherry pick Negro pastor in my book. Um, they would pick this dude to oversee the black church. And what really that's kind of, we could guess that, right? But what shocked me is I found out that there's a long lineage of those cherry picked Negro pastors, according to my book. They stayed in the black community. So in a lot of churches in the Memphis area in Mississippi and out my home state of Alabama, you pastors will get old and die, or get old and pass the church down to their son. And through my research, I found that a lot of those pastors, if you follow the lineage back um, 200 years, you'll be looking at a cherry pick Negro pastor who was selected by a white overseer for purposes not of spiritual salvation, but purposes of psychological control. I thought y'all might want to know that. So off the bat, I'll say pastors are not trustworthy. Um, what are your thoughts on pastors lying to us about deportation, Wani?
I find that they lie about a lot of things and they do a lot of coercion, like with the vaccinations. I've definitely heard people complain that the pastor was encouraging people, and then they found out that they were getting kickbacks for that. Also, the driving people to vote and, pulling up a big bus of people to get, what was that? It was some kind of breakfast sandwich they all got just before they voted.
Wow.
And when they do that, they should lose their tax exempt status.
Good point.
Um, one of the other things that they've done is they are hiding immigrants and refusing to cooperate with ICE, despite the fact that the American public has overwhelmingly voted for this activity to occur. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with them in the future. They already have very low approval ratings, if you will. A lot of people have left the church. A lot of people have just decided to be spiritual in quotation marks and have just, gotten tired of the BS. They need to clean themselves up.
Well, yes, and it's very interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because like I said, my study on COVID-19 prompted that research, and I stopped going to church. Like when I saw that, my church, a pastor that my wife and I have been going to since we moved to Memphis, it was like 8 or 9 years at that point. I very much enjoyed the gentleman's service, very much enjoyed it. And when I looked at, I got my data spreadsheet and looked at it and said, did such and such XYZ Baptist Church had the highest vaccination. Like this dude was having a competition with the hospitals to out vaccinate them for he's getting money for it on an unstudied goddamn vaccination. Do y'all know I stopped going to church? I said, if you're lying to the congregation, and this pastor, old pastor, had made a rule in the church that you could not walk in church without showing your vaccination card. On an
What?
hell yes, buddy.
Oh,
Yes, because I that's the church I attended, and church went online. I went virtual, so we could go virtually. So we ended up going virtually at first, but he was like you.
I,
Go ahead, one.
I was just gonna say, I just heard. I'm sorry to butt in.
You
I
good?
just heard a woman saying that her boyfriend got deported because he didn't fulfill the shot. And they're still requesting it in 2025. He can't get some kind of ID to live here, and that's her husband. He went back to the UK. So I just want to let people know that a lot of these Europeans are being deported, but it's not going to be with them being chased down the street because they don't live in packs. So that's why you just don't see it. But they're going all into everybody's overstay visa. So they're on everybody's case. They know where all the people live with the overstay visas, and they're getting them.
Wow. Well, back to the pastor issue. This is gonna get deep tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because this is something that issue that I brought up prompted me to do extensive research. Why? Well, my congressional report, um, they gave me free reign. I tell you what, the system of white supremacy is very strange because what they did to me in this position, it was a very high position, and it was very tedious and difficult. So I had to build a structural apparatus for the collection of data in places that didn't have barely had running water, the Mississippi Delta in Memphis and the poor black neighborhoods. I had to compile it and come up with a structure of analysis. So why am I telling y'all this? I'm telling y'all this because the other colleges, like, they needed us. They needed the black college on the grant to execute the grant, but they wanted to kick us off. They were A lot of people were not happy about me being there, a black face being in the room with a bow tie on. They were like, oh hell no, why is he here? I loved every minute of it. But anyway, my point is, um by trying to they gave me full reign. They said, hey, Professor A, you figure this out, because they had low faith in me. They wanted me to fuck up so they could kick me off the grant. Y'all understand? But they didn't know who they were fucking with. They were fucking with somebody who, I'm a geek with statistician and with this with intellectual stuff, as y'all already know. So I excelled at it. But the reason why I brought that up is um, since I had free reign to do my own analysis, I did what is called the mixed method approach. The mixed method approach is 50-50. It's half quantitative. So quantitative is numbers. So counting how many people took the jab, how many people had symptoms, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And half qualitative. Qualitative is basically getting talking to people and seeing how you feel about something, right? Half and half. It's called methods approach. Well, I did that in my mixed method approach to Congress, and my quantitative data was with what the government wanted. That's what got us, got our grant reapproved. But my qualitative data, oh my God, the shit people were saying, the shit our sisters were saying, the effects of the jab were like basically the same effects, and they were scaring the shit out of me. And our brothers started saying the effects was scaring the shit out of me too, until one of the effects happened to me. So I lost faith in that whole situation, and instantly my mind went back to church. I was like, what the fuck? These pastors are making us do something that may be having negative consequences upon our congregation and upon myself. And I started looking into the whole pastor issue. I was like, what the hell is going on? Because as a historian, I know that in during the after the transatlantic slave trade during Reconstruction, do y'all realize that the churches were a place of refuge in the black community? Church was a place you went to when the police was chasing you down, and you could hide out in church. Church is a place where poor people went to feed their family. You know, there was a kitchen downstairs. Church was a place where pastors told the truth about the United States and gave you uplift and helped you. You know, church was a place where you learned how to read and write. You know, it was like a very beautiful institution early on. So, with my experience during my congressional report, I looked into it to find out what the fuck happened. And what I discovered, ladies and gentlemen, is the these schools of theology um, picked up business models to just basically destroy the black community. What do you mean? What I mean is, after interviewing some graduate students at the school of I'm not going to name the school, but let's just say a school of theology in the Mid South, a really prestigious one. I found out that most schools of theology give you two tracks. You can pick two. Either A, you get your master's or your doctoral degree in divinity to learn what really is in the Bible, or B, you get on another track to learn how to run a church as a business. Which one do you think most 99.9 people pick? They pick B. They want to run a business. So from school, just from their program to become a pastor, they are taught psychological tricks to get people to give up that money. So from the beginning, it ain't got shit to do with the Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, God, the Creator, the All, spirituality, or whatever you want to call it, the universe. It has to deal with a fucking business model. People need to know that, you know. Um, so off the bat, a lot of these pastors are looking at ways they can get money out of you, and even up into um, experimenting on you with goddamn RDNA jabs. Man, this shit is wild. Um, what's on your mind, Empress?
Good evening, everybody. Professor, today is the first day of the year of the snake. So happy official new year. Now, in this year of the snake, knowledge is going to be very prophetic. You'll see dreams and visions of your life and planet and everything that can be 1 to 20 years in advance. As I listen to you, I'm hearing two new books coming out from you because you got a wonderful story as a man that is not only educated, but a man that's got a little bit of street knowledge and a bit of savvy. And I can't wait to have an autograph copy of your new second and third book. I want to be number one. So I'm putting that bid in. Don't forget, because I'm going to remind you that I told you on the year of the snake. Now, in Michigan, I watched in our news before the pandemic, and this was literally within a year and a half before 2020, there was a couple that ICE was looking for that was due to be deported. The man was from the UK. His wife was, I don't know if she was from Cuba or where, but the church hid them and went against the political laws and went to courts to fight it. They protested and it was calmed down for a little bit of time. And I say almost 2 years. Then the pandemic rolled. I don't know if they eventually wound up getting caught, but I know that they were in the news continuously. Now, this same church, which was a Methodist church downtown Detroit, off of Bagley Street, has been around 100 years. And the way that they would do sometimes with the blacks in the 1800s, they didn't hide them. They would turn them over to bounty hunters. Yet, off in the 60s, when some of the ministers had unnatural desires for some of these people's children, they would only give refuge if they could manipulate. So we're living in a demonic time where people play with the church. Look at what T.D. Jakes has done. If you look at Instagram, you might have heard of this minister. They call him the cussing pastor. Don't know if you've seen that, but things and came out on him. He was one pressing that jab as well. I want to make everyone aware because it's going to be another plague that's going to be far greater than the 2020, only it's not going to be a quick, year of getting a shot developed. When this next one come, you have a legal right to refuse, and you can legally sue any entity, including a church, that demands you to take any type of injection to attend their church, to be a part of their church, because that violates your freedom of religion. It was horrible how so many churches would tell you, if you didn't want to do that, you are of the devil. And not only was these people getting paid, but then they start bringing it into certain churches. And we in Detroit, we started pushing back, and the protests got very intense where a lot of churches were shut down. We wasn't going for it. Now, the few that did go for it, I watched so many of these people pass away. So many family members who were nurses and doctors pass away after they took the injection. And that was something that I monitored. Here's an RN who takes the injection, and then you get to watch the side effects, how it broke down her body, made it where she couldn't mobilize herself, couldn't use her limbs only at certain times. It was a disaster. Now they're being sued with Henry Ford Hospital. They had came and made a news announcement with many church pastors promoting this, that if they didn't want to do the jab in 2021 and 2022 and 2023, they were firing multiple nurses, CNAs, um, ambulatory EMTs, and they started suing. And once they seen the larger community of whites was the ones pushing back against this is when they decided to come on the news and state, if you were forced to take the jab or lose your job, you now get to sue. The pastors here only stopped it when many lawyers have started suing lots of these churches. And I agree with you, Professor. This was real BS. And it amazed me because if you think about it, they didn't want anybody speaking against it. But when you went in church, if they were bought off, that's all they push. When they wasn't bought off, they would tell you, don't, do this. Look at what Mike Tyson was forced to do this, and the conditions his body has went through just to travel. So if this when this comes back again, now you know better what not to do. And Wani was correct in the point that she was making. It is liars. We are in a world now that's getting ready to be revealed. All of your political, your religious, and your entertainment is finna be stripped. A snake will show you its skin as it has shed it. And that's what's going to happen this year. It's getting ready to be an outright war of violence, not just because of deportation, but what's being revealed by who's running the country. And so it's gonna be like a mass, not only deportation, when this man's term is up and the year of the rooster of 2029 comes in, they're going to be happy to put someone in that doesn't represent that type of political climate. And you're going to see it coming heavy from the church. Look at the liars like Jamal Bryant. If you
Well,
ever
I
listen
wanted
to him,
to add to what you were saying and put things in context. I see an opportunity to try to connect things right here, ladies
mm-hmm,
and gentlemen. Everything is in this country leads back to us. It leads back to um, that transatlantic slave trade and chattel slavery. Even what we're talking about right now. Check out what Dr. Howard Zinn says about it. He says when the Brunswick Canal was built, well, quote, when the Brunswick Canal was built in Georgia, the black slaves and the white Irish workers were segregated. Got it? He says
right,
the excuse being that they would do violence against one another, that they may have well that may have well been true. But Fanny Kimball, the famous actress and wife of a planter, wrote in her journal, quote, but the Irish are not only quarrelers and rioters and fighters and drinkers and despisers of niggers, they are also passionate, impulsive, warm hearted, generous people, much given to powerful indignations which break out suddenly when not compelled to smolder sullenly. Persistent sympathizers, too, and with a sufficient dose of American atmosphere in the air in their lungs, properly mixed with the right proportion of ardent spirits, there is no saying but what they might actually take the sympathy with the slaves, and I leave you to judge of the possible consequences. You perceive, I am sure, that they can by no means be allowed to work together on the Brunswick Canal. Did y'all just hear what Dr. Zen just said? That's one of the hottest shits I've ever said on X. Let me paraphrase what Dr. Zen just said, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Zen said in Georgia, uh, basically, um, they segregated the Irish because Irish weren't considered white, and the blacks, but they both were doing work. Because they segregated us because what started to happen is Wani Spots has said in another space. So I think Wani, you said one of your I think I recall you say one of your family members was mixed with Irish, or they thought she was Native American, but she was pure Irish. I may be
No,
conflating.
my friend's grandmother was said that she was Native American, or they thought she was.
Mm-hmm.
And she was pure. She literally had immigration papers to this country. And she married a man that was black and Native American. And they created 11 children. So,
Yes, that was what Wani just said was very common, but these damn history books don't reflect it. The Irish and blacks were getting together. So how does this lead to religion? Check this out, Empress. You got a hot mic. Um, check this out. Listen closely, ladies and gentlemen. According to Howard Zinn, there was a need to control blacks because we were mixing together with them Irish, and the Irish was like Wani said, having babies with us and starting to get on our side a little bit. Um, but Dr. Zinn said the need for slave control led to an ingenious device, paying poor whites themselves so troublesome for 200 years of Southern history to be overseers of black labor and therefore buffers for black hatred. Um, so, uh, so check this out. What Wani just said about her friend's great grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
is where that whole, well, we're going to make you an overseer over the Negroes came from. It was to, isn't that interesting? It was to separate us because we were starting to have babies together. And
Well,
last, go ahead.
okay.
Last thing I
Oh,
want to say
go ahead.
is in addition to making the Irish overseers over us, Dr. Zen said religion was used for control. So they threw a little religion in there. So that's why we're looking at the corruption of uh, Christianity in the American system. But go ahead, Wani.
I was just gonna say she was. This is a very interesting case because she was kind of pretending to be Native American, so it wouldn't raise any eyebrows. But to be honest, the Irish women often did choose the black men to go start these because they went and lived on a settlement where you had to grow things. They often chose
That's what Dr. Zen
Black
said. Right.
American men. So did the Scandinavian women when they went to the Appalachian area. They chose strong black men to disappear with. But I'm not sure where the Irish woman pivoted. You see what I'm saying? When did they pivot to where it was almost unheard of or considered taboo for them to do that? From when they were just willy nilly giving birth to a whole bunch of Black American children. That's part of our whole backbone of these triracial isolates that we don't really talk about. We have a whole lot of people that do their DNA and they have an Irish haplogroup on the maternal side. So, since we know that that's a fact, when did they pivot, I wonder, to where they were white? Because they certainly weren't being considered, it was kind of borderline, you know what I mean?
No, no,
It
it's a good question.
was a little bit weird on the
Right.
census, but not enough for them to be defended to the death. Like, oh, you're touching a white woman. So I really don't know how it was. It's very interesting. And then they just pivoted right back into being white women.
Wani, you asked the bet.
Um,
You
it's
asked the bet.
But
interesting.
I want to ask a question, if I may,
Hold on
Professor.
before you go, Wani. That's the best question ever, because it's relevant. So, Dr. Zen doesn't have an exact date for the pivot, but the date for when the Irish women and the black men were disappearing off to make babies and jump the broom was 1802, which makes perfect sense because it was pre-Civil War. We're seeing whites and blacks amalgamate and start something new. So the system of domination initiated aggressive tactics to separate us. One, telling the poor Irish that he's better than the Negro and giving him a, and these positions they had as overseers were not much more money. It was just title. You're better than them. And also, back to our in congruency with our title, they started to corrupt the Christianity, and using Christianity as a tool of division. A lot of people don't want to talk about that. Go ahead and land your plane, Empress, and then we're going to Agent Zero, then Cash Games.
Okay. So now when you go into the year of 1802, is that correct? That's when you said this occurred, right?
Around, not exactly around 1802.
So let's say if we went 1802, 1802 is the year of the dog. If it went into 1803, that'd be the year of the pig. Now, why am I bringing that up for significance? This is show you how hidden things in that dog year will be revealed, that dogs bring loyalty. And so, my question to you is, knowing what you got a chance to see in the church during the time of the pandemic, and even within the last 2 years of still coming out of that pandemic, would you ever trust going to a different type of faith now that you know some of the games that a few churches will put on? And what I was going to say, when you look at Pastor Geno Jennings, that's out of Philadelphia, you can see him on YouTube. I love his teaching from a biblical standpoint, but it amazes me. His first cousin Jamal Bryant. There are two different ones, yet they beef with each other because one is realistic and one is a phony. So, my question to you, Pastor, knowing what you've seen and the lies and the propaganda with that virus and making people want to take a jab, could you ever trust being in a church in general in 2025? And if not, why?
Well,
Personally, religion is your choice.
well, um, this is touchy, and I don't want to derail the space into this because this becomes real, you know, incendiary.
Okay.
But to just give you an answer, um, I was very dedicated. I was baptized at 16th Street Baptist Church, Southern Baptist, and I went to the church that was administrating the jab that I was talking about. Almost every Sunday, we remember the youth ministry. We were married couple ministry and all that. But with me, I'm a strange type of personality. When I find out something's wrong, I'm a little obsessive, and I want to find out what's going on. So that triggered me to do research on the Bible and do research on a lot of things. And a lot of things that I found out kind of made it hard for me to attend church on a regular basis. So yeah, I found too many things I didn't like, but I'm just gonna leave it right there. But I do believe in a higher power. I do believe in God, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, or the Creator. It's just I saw way too much. In a way, I guess that was a good thing because I started to see manipulation that I think I was kind of refusing to see before. But good question, Agent Zero. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Professor? What's up, Ronnie? What's up, Room? So I seen a while back, and it was like way, way before COVID, where they were talking about, and I think it may have been like after sometime like way after 9/11, but they were just talking about terror events. And they were saying that in the United States, it is 26 at that time. It is 26,000 different pastors who got some kind of organization together and in agreement with the government. They don't work for the government. I don't think they're funded by the government. But in case the society goes into just like a total spiral, just say for instance it was war or whatever, um, that they would go around the country. Their task would be to go around the country and try to hold things together morally, which would, I guess, kind of keep society from totally going off the deep end. And I'm saying that to say this: um, I guess COVID would be would fall up under that. So coercing people into getting poked would fall up under that too. And it just all makes sense to me now that wow, maybe they did um or maybe one of their goals was to use that group or organization to get everybody to take the jab. And it's just just an interesting thought. And I let my plane.
Well, yes, sir. When I was a child or a young man going to 16th Street, my pastor, would always say, he would one of his favorite sermons was about the passage where Jesus told give unto Caesar what is Caesar, give unto God what is God. The separation between church and state, and that was always been kind of burned in my mind. And when I was doing my research, my COVID-19 research, I found out that these pastors were getting money from the same government grant source. I was like, man, y'all combining, y'all going against your own biblical values. So I did see a lot of complicity, and I viewed, and I'm not talking about one church. I'm not talking about 10 churches. I viewed a whole slew of churches in the Mid South area as apparatuses for government experimentation, and I did not like it. It changed. It kind of changed me. Cash Games, what's on your mind?
Yeah, peace, Professor Alon. I was gonna say I sent to your inbox a, a audiobook from People's History in case you wanted to play some quotes alive and stuff,
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
as well as written. It's read by Howard Zinn himself.
Wow.
And chapter 2, drawing the color line.
Ooh,
I
we.
remember listening to. That's where you're at right now, right? Because you was talking about the Irish becoming white.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Did you speak about the part where it was like black and Irish workers who protested because the dude was only paying them in like one bean a day or something like that.
Wow, it's so
And
much.
then
It's so much in that book, man. What page is that?
I'm just saying it's in chapter 2 for sure.
I'm gonna
Because
find it.
yeah, it says that there was I don't know if it was like 8 Irish dudes and eight enslaved black folk, and the Irish got off with a slap on the wrist, while Black Americans were kept in perpetual slavery and not paid a dime for their work. And that was Howard Zinn's argument of like one of the first times that they started to differentiate and tie color to enslavement long term. So I just wanted to shout that out if that's what you was.
Wow.
Yes, yes. But thank Matt Cash. You so on point, man. If you could find that page number, give it to me, bro, as stat, because that hierarchy, ladies and gentlemen, that I put in the jumbotron a lot, and I'm about to do it in a moment. That's how you keep America together. That's how you create the racial hierarchy. Our brother Tariq Nasheed the other night was talking about black Americans were, I'm paraphrasing, but black Americans have been perceived at the bottom of a hierarchy. And somebody came into space, his space, so that black Americans are at the bottom. That's not true, as our sister Wani Spots has proved. But intellectually, psychologically, you need somebody at the bottom to keep create the hierarchy that exists. So black Americans were scapegoated into that fictitious hierarchy. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing it up that because now that we're delineating and just stepping outside the hierarchy and looking at you like, fool, we're not a part of this hierarchy. The whole thing is crumbling to the ground. Have y'all been noticing how these people are losing their shit?
Well, we were always a loose cannon, kind of like the underdogs that everybody's silently rooting for.
Mm.
We've never really been in the hierarchy. We've struggled economically because of, oppression. But we've never been in that. We're just like a monkey wrench. We don't just accept it. We always fight for something better for ourselves. So we're just different in that sense.
Yeah, that's true. But the gaslighting that the system does in order to exploit foreigners is it tells them it implies that if you come over here you won't be at the bottom, blacks are at the bottom, and it does it
No, it definitely does that. In all social orders that I've ever studied, and I've studied a hell of a lot of them, they do have a king. So, some leader, then they have people below them, then they have artisans, and they have agriculturalists. They'll have teachers, or in some cases, the teacher will be a religious person. They have this system. Like with the Hindus, they have the Brahmin, and all of those are like different groups, um, like traders. Uh, and it, it does help society function because if everybody can't be the king and everybody can't be a trader, and sell stuff and then leave the other parts of the structure empty. But when you start having systems where people are punished by what they're doing and making it impossible for them to change their status, that's when it becomes very depressing.
yeah, criminalization. Sharshi McIntyre wrote a book. It's damn $1,500 right now. I wish if y'all find a cheaper copy, y'all find one for a couple hundred, let me know. I'll buy it from you. Called Criminalization of a Race. Ladies and gentlemen, like what our sister Wani just said, is basically, if I may paraphrase her, the American system created financial systems based upon this fictitious hierarchy. For instance, the prison system, you know what I'm saying? The prison system was created based off this hierarchy. First and foremost, why in the fuck do we have private prisons in the first place? Isn't that a conflict of interest?
Yes.
And furthermore, a lot of these private prisons are in rural white neighborhoods. Why is that? Because it creates an ecosystem. You have white men working as prison guards, you have wardens, you have a whole ecosystem surrounding that prison. So the question then becomes, is a prison about right or wrong, or is it about economic empowerment for a whole nother group at our expense? That's racism. That's the hierarchy, ladies and gentlemen.
Want me
But
to show how we're not part of the global caste system or the hierarchy we're speaking about?
yeah, please do.
Another way. Well, when Caribbeans and West Africans come over here, they're part of a global caste system and they already bent down and accepted their fate. This is the friction that we have with them is based on the fact that we won't just roll over
Preach.
and we're fighting and they don't want to fight. They are routinely telling us that we're always you heard that woman that on that recent Tariq Nasheed, you're always complaining about things. You're asking for this and that. We're not asking for anything. We were never paid for something we were promised multiple times. It wasn't just that the 40 acres and a mule scenario. But after each war, we were promised to be made whole. After each thing we participated in, that's how they got us to participate sometimes by saying, when this is all over, you're going to be paid. Some of these white military men had to beg for us to be paid because the others, most of them were like, nope, they don't, they're going to fight for free, while these other guys got paid to fight. So we don't fit into the global caste system, never did. We're a wild card, we're a monkey wrench in the plan. And the rest of these immigrants come over with a firm, and I mean dyed in the wool
Yeah.
feeling about where an Indian ranks on this, where a Mexican ranks on this, where a Chinese person ranks on this, where a West African ranks on this. And when we show up, none of those things work out for them. So while in the real world, a Chinese person can slap a West African upside the head and get away with it, when they try that over here, they don't even try it because they
No.
already know they're going to get crushed.
I'll get stomped
They
out.
won't even do that. But that's what the global caste system is. That means that the moment an East African shows up, they trump a West African. That's it. They're better than them, and
Mhm.
they just submit. Um, and we noticed that over in, I didn't know it so much until I actually saw it in Clubhouse, where they would go into a room and start fighting with each other. And the East African, the Somalis, and these other types would just call them names and they would just sit there like, yeah, this is the way life is supposed to be. This is the way it is. And we just don't fit into that. We have a whole nother thing. That's why we said, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. When the whole world was saying, you shouldn't be proud to be black. You should be, we tried, this is an insult to call yourself black. We do not fit in this global caste system. And this is why we're the only people on the planet that have done so many different things. And this is one of them. This is one of the unique things that we've done. We have rejected the global caste system.
Yeah, and which is why we need to damn delineate a little bit more. I heard a space from Brother Tariq Nasheed where this Nigerian got in there. Y'all heard that mess, and he was trying to give us all these stats of how Black Americans are how we're baby mamas and how we're
Ugh,
this
that
damn
again.
this
I
damn
heard that.
fool said we make up 80% of the prisons. All this shit
They
was just
lie.
it was lies, 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 lies. But the point of me bringing that up is he needed to believe that. It was so important for him to believe that because of what Wani said. He had the caste system in his head. And if you listen between the words, what he really was saying is, no, 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 no. I'm Nigerian and I know I'm low on the totem pole, but there's somebody lower than me. He needed to believe that. He because he accepted his fate as a low a serf, if you will, on in the racial hierarchy of the world. My question is, how do they create this global racial hierarchy? Wani, how is that done?
Well, first, they do it regionally. We know that. The Mexican is on the bottom, and the other ones are kind of not mentioned. And then other Latinos or Hispanics are higher up. Um, I'm not sure what they're judging that by, to be honest. I kind of ignore them, but they do have one. They do it regionally, like South Asia, where you have the Indians feeling superior to the Bangladeshi and the Sri Lankans and different people already in their society. Like I said, we know they have a caste system. It's very, very popular. So all of these people have one. But then when they come together now with this global thing, um, again, I'm not sure how they came to these conclusions that Chinese people were below white people, or different races like Cambodians are below Chinese people. I'm not sure where they're coming up with this. Maybe they had enough fights between them to determine who's on the top. I mean, there has to be something.
Yeah, I can't figure it out because it's I don't want to derail the space, but Dr. Wells, anybody who's taken biology, high school biology knows about recessive genes. The concept of European um superiority based on genetics is a fallacy because the genetics are recessive. So I'm real confused because it seems like the dominant narrative of that racial hierarchy is everywhere I've been, except for around us. We're the, like you said, Wani, we're the only group, and I'm a licensed historian. We're the only group that have a long history of really being proud of the way we look. We love the way we look.
Mhm. And that aggravates people, even people that look like us, because they're so brainwashed and so indoctrinated, they can't understand what we're doing.
Hmm.
How can you say black is beautiful? No, no, I'm Dominican. I don't want to have anything to do with that. I still have to run away. And yes, sir, you are Dominican. Absolutely. We were absolutely wrong to try to put a template of our um, blackness onto foreigners who don't have that concept. They don't have that concept. So he, in fact, is Spanish and African and some other Native American descent. All of that mixed together created a Dominican, and that is his identity. It has nothing to do with us. We're not Spanish. We don't speak Spanish. And we should have never imprinted that on him because, maybe his sister looks like some Black American woman.
Well,
So what? It doesn't mean that she is like a Black American woman.
Well, I'm gonna play with a little fire right now. Since you're talking about Dominicans, I got my hair cut. I lived in Rochester, New York, for a year, and I got my hair cut at a Dominican place. That I didn't open my mouth for about 4 or 5 months, and everybody just assumed I was Puerto Rican or Dominican or something. But somebody tried to ask me a question in Spanish, and my Spanish is not that. I can speak a little bit of Spanish, but they found out my accent, or whatever. Like, no, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I'm black. I'm black. And from that point on, they started treating me some type of way. But one of the barbers that was cutting my hair was cool. He's Dominican, but he told me, I was asking him, man, what's with the why y'all act like this? And he told me that in the Dominican Republic, according to this barber, the Catholic Church allowed them, gave them the basically declared them as white. So you have people dark, jet black, darker than me, in Dominican Republic that think they're white. You know what I'm saying? Like, I call it the Sammy Sosa effect. But the reason why I brought that up is, again, that all roads lead back to that certain religious ideologies, but I'm gonna leave that alone before I piss somebody off.
No, I was just reading that in Rwanda, they had made Eartha Kitt an honorary white person.
Wow.
What does that even mean? Like, it, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. I mean, even if you have a white, what I've noticed with people that I've known that have white mothers or fathers, they really believe that they have some kind of protection, but your mother and father can't be with you for the rest of your life. And what can someone saying you're an honorary something do? You can get into different places where all the racists are hanging around. That's that's the benefit. Go ahead, Paris.
Hi, good evening, Wani and Professor. How you guys doing?
Hey.
Thank you for letting me speak. I'm going to piggyback on what you were saying, Professor. I had a colleague. I have her. She's very nice, but I'm going to be very graphic. Like she's the color of my shoe. She's a very nice girl. I was her mentor for when she first started teaching. But she's married to a white man here in the city. But you cannot. It's amazing. Like she never identified. She never participated in Black History Month programs. It's just so obvious here in New York City. This is what we've been dealing with forever. The other thing I want to bring up is I did post, I think it was 2 days ago. We have a lot of white progressives and people going in on the mic. Okay, fine. We understand Black, brown community. We understand Trent Wagwa. We understand the criminals. But you know where the big criminals are? 57th Street. Okay, Billionaires Row. All right, the Russians.
Yep.
Brighton Beach. I'm sorry if I'm getting angry, but I want to see DEI there. I want to see you go to Flushing, right, the second Chinatown. I want to see what's going to happen there. This is where all the birther vacations come in Chinatown. They're afraid to go to Brighton Beach, Little Odessa. I want to see what he's going to do there. So I'm just keeping my eye peaked. I'm not saying, what he's doing is wrong, but I believe in equal opportunity deportations. And I forgot the other thing I wanted to say. Just basically about Dominicans and people of color here who are Hispanic. They always try to muster up or to saddle up to whiteness, and that's always a problem. And now it's bitten them in the butt. So thank you.
Appreciate you, Paris. Always a pleasure. Makai, Makai God, I accidentally skipped over you. My bad. I know you came up.
I
Go ahead.
wanted, I wanted to say something real quick.
Go ahead, Wanda.
They are, by the way, they are arresting um, and deporting other people that we haven't seen a lot. They have rounded up a whole bunch of Chinese people. China has agreed to take their illegals back. The reason that it doesn't look like that, Paris, and I get it, it does look like they're just chasing a bunch of Latinos around, is because they're the bulk of the people. And they run in packs. They hang out
Exactly.
outside. They're in front of Home Depot. You can like round them up. Where like there's some British people over here committing crimes and they overstay their visa on top of doing something illegal, and they just simply know where they are, and now they have the teeth to go over there and pluck them up one by one. With the Chinese people, they did find some packs of them in some cars, smuggling and doing all sorts of things. And they've been rounding different people up in different places. Let's see who else. I think all I saw was some British people, some Chinese people, a lot of Vietnamese people that are criminals. They may have legal status. I don't think we have a lot of illegal Vietnamese here because they came over on different programs, but they're getting in on them. It's just that we just have way more Latinos and they're more able to be run up on with these raids.
Can I respond to what you just said, Wani?
Sure.
I'm glad you guys did not record this space. I don't want to say it was Sunday night and I was shocked out of heck. Someone had texted me because they were at this venue. In New York, we have a lot of what you call these sports arenas. So I don't want to say which one, but apparently ICE came in and raided the offices at night, and they were looking for SSS numbers. I'm like, Social Security numbers. I'm like, what the hell? So things are happening, but a lot of people don't know, and that was very shocking to me. And I'm glad to see that that did happen, because if you are employing people illegally, you should be gotten. So that hasn't been on the news yet, so I just didn't want to say the name of the arena. Thank you.
I have not seen any Russians get swept up on. Um, they, of course, they have done a bunch of crimes and they have probably overstayed their visas. So hopefully on the next sweeps, they'll start getting in on these legal criminals, people that are here legally, because we know that the Russians and the Armenians, they all run these extortion operations. That's why they don't want anyone in their neighborhoods, because you're going to see them committing the crimes. It's not so much that they're racist, as they don't want you to witness their crimes. And it's easier for them to blackmail and intimidate those of their own background. And that's why they don't want you in their neighborhoods.
Yeah, I when I worked at Smithsonian in DC, me and my friends used to go to a club. I think it was called 24 or something, but those of you who know DC, it was on K Street. It was like the main club, and it was in Roman numerals 24 or whatever it was called. Big high club, but the Russians ran that shit, man. And man, the Russians are into some big money, man. They do have a pretty well-oiled crime syndicate running. But yeah, I'd like to see the deportation issue spread the love, if you will. Makai God, you want to go ahead, or Meki God?
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, no, Michi, man,
Michi,
Michi God,
Michi,
man. Yeah.
Michi, I'm sorry.
Nah, it's cool, bro.
Michi.
But it's crazy because y'all's talking about it, man. I've been living this, so I'm going back to mainly just the COVID thing y'all was talking about. I'm a nurse and I was in the hospital seeing all this stuff, doing this, like touching it, you know what I'm saying? And like being on the like front line, like telling people like don't take this vaccine. Like I had people doing the elderberries in 2020. You know, we found out from I got a message through MedCram. They got the research from North Korea and China back in 2019 November. They had already sequenced the genome and figured it out, like what it was susceptible to. We knew it was susceptible to zinc intracellularly, just in electrophoresis wells. But we knew that if you put some zinc in there, it's just the coronavirus, which what I'm saying is just a common cold, and pretty much, it was very effective just getting elderberries. It's just high in zinc, and a lot of people was taking it. Some people was doing the tonic water with the zinc capsules or whatever. But I've seen it, and I was there when the managers is telling us like, oh, you guys have to take this vaccine or you will lose your job. And so I was like, fuck you. And I went on ahead. I went to HR, and then HR was like, "Oh no, you can file a religious exemption," because I had done it before. So I'm like, "No, I'm not taking this shit." You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna force me to take this shit. And so I lost my job and shit. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't tripping because what I mean. You got to stand on that principle. But the thing is, when it's all said and done, like Dr. Sebi's been telling us not to do this shit forever. You know what I'm saying? And we've been knowing about Sebi, and we haven't taken, what I'm saying, that mindset of, okay, let's get to what the fuck we do. We do great shit. We cure AIDS, cancer, all that shit. We do the greatest things in the world, and everybody else fucking pales in comparison with the things they're creating. Look at Lonnie Johnson. Look at Moses West with the atmospheric water generator. You put them two people together, you create a car that can run forever, pretty much without needing a charge. You know what I mean? And that's the crazy thing, is that when we're we're not looking at our potential of what we do and what we could possibly do with just the shit we already got. You know what I'm saying? And I think on a mass level, we need to take and get every fucking church to put some money into growing food and growing Dr. Sebi's food, you know what I'm saying, and healing food, healing herbs, and change the way the medicine and the food. We are the culture, and we have to lead the culture with the best that we have. And I'm looking at it like, we have this technological advancements, and we have this nutritional and health advancements, because we led the charge against COVID as black people. We were the ones. I seen white people with some goddamn sea moss. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's called Irish moss, but no, we was on that Irish moss 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Taking that shit with Dr. Sebi. So my thing is like, when it's all said and done, black people been the main ones pushing this health kick and teaching people how to get healthy. And it pales in comparison to what these preachers is doing. You know what I'm saying? Like they doing some bullshit. And that's the crazy thing. It's like, if you wanna keep up with it just because you're religious, you believe in God and what have you. But the bullshit is, you can't let nobody else dictate how you gonna move, and you have to do the research for yourself. Fuck these people, and have to know, like, what I'm saying, like, they don't got your best interest at hand for shit. And don't trust this anything, not the people in the government, the people that work with, what I'm saying, be in that mug but not of that mug. You know what I'm saying? You can get your bread and you can do what you have to do, but you got to make sure you're doing what you doing as a black American to promote our culture. And our culture is amazing and it's great. And that's why I love Tariq and everybody, because they telling the history of things. And it's like, man, we still making more history right now. And shout out to everybody who stood stronger with this COVID shit and brought out all the information. Rizza Islam, Dr. Parks, Dr. Lane Rowland, rest in peace. Everybody, you know what I'm saying? It was a lot of people that that spoke out and fought for that shit. You know, so I'm gonna cut off right there. I'm laying my plan.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes,
How would you use the elderberry and the zinc? Do you use it as a prevention or when you
man.
feel the symptoms?
My brother was sick. My brother was sick. All I did was took some elderberries and put made some tea, and dude jumped up and was fine after that. Was like the whole cold was
Elderberry
gone.
tea.
Just
Okay.
elderberries. Just got
You
some raw
know,
elderberries.
it's
We should
so
grow those. You know what I'm saying? I do grow
grow
this. You
your
know what I'm saying?
own.
This is what I'm saying. We should do these as a culture of people. Everybody should have that shit on their farms and in their houses. Get the aeroponic towers. You can grow your food in your house. You know what I'm saying? Grow in your
Mm-hmm.
house. Start growing in our houses. Start growing food for ourselves. Start being who our ancestors was, but get paid for it. They were the growers of this country. They were the builders of this country. I don't have a problem saying, all right, man, I'll put this nursing shit aside. I can go out here. Y'all just gotta pay me, you know what I'm saying, some good wages to go out here and go, build this shit and get this shit going. But I feel like it's been a thing where we've been pushed out to the point to where, you know what I'm saying, it's like, all right, well, we gotta figure something out for ourselves. It's like, well, let's use what we got. We already got. And if you're talking about Lonnie Johnson and Moses West, you between the three inventions with them and just create a HHO gas engine, pretty much you're pretty much gonna be able to drive forever, and you ain't got to worry about what Tesla got going on, where they can't charge in the freezing cold and stuff. You be able to drive forever, pretty much on a tank of water and some air, and pretty much the way I'm thinking about doing it, we can make it even a little bit more supercharged, you know what I'm saying? But it's just some ways of being, you know what I'm saying, and how we can do this shit and thinking about shit, you know what I'm saying? Instead of having, because I don't think no Nigerian, because see, my thing is I always praise Nigerians back in the day. I used to be like, yeah, man, those motherfuckers are smart. But I realized it's because only their smart people come here. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, like you don't see the full gamut. It's like, no, only you niggas is here for just this reason, and you're trying to help keep us down, and you need to believe that you're better than us, and you want to keep us down. But it's like, bro, we been up, nigga. We the reason this country is up, nigga.
Right.
And you pretty
We're
much
the
got to figure
reason
out who
they
the
have
fuck
a
you
way to
is. You know what
come
I'm
up.
saying? But we know who the fuck we are. And so now it's time for us to just go ahead and just use that and be for real about shit. You know what I'm saying? We could change whole global markets if we wanted to. Easy, easy. Just the shit I'm talking about. Easy.
Well,
Everybody growing food in the house. We all get
I
together.
don't
Dr.
mind.
Sebi's list is a
I,
starting point. Boom.
I don't mind recommending things like you just said. That's the beauty of it. When it doesn't hurt, when it doesn't harm. What can you why would you say no to elderberry tea? I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I mean,
Oh, bullshit. Hey, listen,
it's
listen to this
very
though. I ain't even
good.
worried about it not working. Listen to this though. Listen to this. Now they got a warning label on elderberry tea.
Yeah, they're
Uh-huh.
just
But they ain't got
jealous.
no warning
They're
label on the goddamn
jealous.
COVID vaccine, nigga.
Look,
Please
they're
Hold
get
on.
just
out of here,
What is
jealous
the
bro.
of
warning
that.
level? What's the
It's
warning
the
label say?
warning label say, hold on, let me see what this say on here. Talking about
I,
women, it hasn't been tested. We haven't tested it. It causes gastric problems.
Oh my
no,
And
gosh.
no,
what it say?
no.
What it say for serious events? Report call
They're
866 and all.
just
It
being
stops
dramatic.
lactation of pregnancy. Man, ain't nobody
They're
said nothing
being
about no damn
dramatic.
elderberry since God made this shit. And now all of a sudden they got, but you
They've
ain't got one
been
on the goddamn
taking
COVID vaccine.
they've been
Stop playing
taking
with me.
elderberry for like hundreds of years. It was in a Latvian recipe. That's why I asked you about it because these people in Latvia were using it for COVID and they were saying it knocked it out, but they had it in an alcohol base. It was some sort of alcoholic beverage
Yeah, I
with
mean, you can take it
elderberry
how
in
you
it.
want. This is like getting drunk,
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you just make a tea.
They do.
All the say these herbs, just draw it out. Just make a draw. You know what I'm saying? Make a tea with it, and then some of the stuff. And we need to start growing it. We need to start learning how to grow it, and you know what I'm saying? Like get to it, and just recognize that's our culture. That nigga loved us. Dr. Sebi put on for us. That nigga loved being a nigga. That's why I use the word nigga so much. Dr. Sebi said he loved being a nigga, and I do too. And that's what I'm saying. Like we are the shit we everything we say we are, and we know we are. You know what I'm saying? Let's put that shit together. We can shake this old system, man. This whole system, man. We already know it. We make this system tremble. Dr. Sebi won his case. They sealed that shit. Dr. Sebi got arrested the day after my birthday, the year before I was born. So that's how I knew when I called the Supreme Court when I was doing my undergrad and I'm writing my paper about him. That's how I knew. I called the Supreme Court in Brooklyn. Nah, I really want to get this. Like, let me go up in the annotated statues real quick. It should be in there. Why ain't it annotated in the annotated statues for 88 in New York? So then I call. Finally, they say it's been sealed. I say, who would seal that case? She said the United States Supreme Court. So that's the truth about that shit. You know, they gotta hide our greatness. They gotta steal our greatness. Now you got Alex Jones selling CMOS. Nigga, stop playing with me, man. I'm seeing this shit. I'm like, man, this shit is a trip. But Alex Jones did give Dr. Sebi his props back in the day too. He would give him his props and shit, you know. But yeah, man, it's crazy. Like I just see shit. It just be like, man, it go full circle, but you know, we on and we do lead, and them niggas mad and they can see that shit. You know what I mean? And it'd be like they say in the Bible, what the bottom would be the top and the top would be the bottom. Well, them niggas that thought they was on top, nigga, you niggas ain't never even at the Olympics, you niggas don't like nigga, get the fuck out of here. Nigeria don't think, I mean, because I'm talking about the niggas specifically from the Tariq space that we was talking, like y'all was mentioning. Nigeria
They have
don't do
3 gold
shit in the
medals.
Olympics compared to America, and we
They
and we
got
been this shit.
three. They got 3 gold medals lifetime, and they
Period.
got kicked out of the Olympics multiple times for using steroids.
And all
Um,
them niggas over there doing our dances and trying to talk
yeah,
and
they're
walk like us.
And
nothing.
trying to
They're
dress like her,
nothing.
wearing ball caps and shit.
Real talk. Basketball, like we don't even wear baseball caps like that no more. Not like that. I mean,
Man.
niggas wearing,
They're
but niggas,
always
like, come on, niggas
decades
don't even like,
behind.
you know what I mean? Not like that. Nigga, it ain't like, you know what I'm saying? They got jerseys on looking all extra generic and shit. I'm like, bro, man, just get a real throwback, nigga.
Now, back to the supplements, they have started to try to put these warnings on stuff that people have been using for thousands of years, which is
Yeah.
stupid and ridiculous because they're jealous, because people, they don't want you to move away from traditional medicine. And they know
Hmm.
people do take these natural things and they go on about their business. They get what they want, they go on about their business. But I wouldn't, there's nothing wrong with elderberry tea. Come on, people. And they want
Oh,
you
niggas
to
talking about
take a
elder.
jab that, no, they want you to take a vaccination that they did
Right. And the
barely
same people talking about
tested.
elderberry tea probably took the jab. Like, I'm like,
They
nigga, I
barely
know, cause
tested that
I actually do
vaccination.
this shit. I do this shit real life. So I knew, nigga, you can't make a drug, synthesize a drug, and bring it to market in less than 10, 11, 12 years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's never happened. It take years of starting from small mammals all the way up into so you know on a level how it's gonna potentially affect us and you know what I'm saying, what it's potentially gonna do for us. These people is so fucked up the way that they try to rush it on us. And I'm like, yeah, nah, you ain't gonna just rush no shit on me. Like, I'm like, nah, man, I don't even like vaccines no way as it is. And then out here in Vegas, they so I go to the job to go tell them like, yo, look, I've been getting these fucking exemptions for years, man. So look, here, take this. I called the health district. They talking about, yeah, we closed that department to do the vaccine. I'm like, what do you mean? When did that close? What happened? Like, where's the record? Cause I got records with you niggas from 15 years ago and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit crazy. I got records with y'all from a long ass time ago. Like, yo, let me get them records so I could go ahead and oh, we ain't got those no more. So then I put my thing in. They like, oh, we gotta do this. Man, bullshit, man. And that's what I put in my thing. That's why they fired me too, because I was talking about Sebi and shit. And them niggas, and I don't give a fuck what you say. If you, hey, hey, let your grandma get sick and you get to get her some elderberries. Whoever talking shit, cause I ain't in the comments right now. But whoever talking shit, let your grandma get some goddamn COVID or some flu or any fucking respiratory like problem, anything. This shit helps with respiratory, and that's the only thing the research says. If you go Google Scholar, elderberries, and I'm looking for the fucking research that they talking about, call this and that. You know what I'm saying? So they can pretty much get some people to call in and make some fucking lies and be like, oh, this is But nah, this is what I'm saying. So if you get that Google Scholars research, it says nah, but this shit is very good at getting rid of chest congestion. Nigga, I went to college, nigga. I know how to do research. Shut your ass up. Whoever said something.
Real.
What did they say? Oh, let me
No,
go
I'm not
look.
saying. I'm just saying because you was saying people saying the elderberry don't work and all this. I was like bullshit. It's bullshit. I
No,
don't.
I
I don't.
said
This is
even if
proven fact
no,
shit, nigga. I
they
don't. I
didn't.
don't
I don't
deal in.
think they said that. I said
Okay.
even
Okay.
if
Okay.
elderberry tea didn't work, you just had a nice glass of elderberry tea. It's not a, it's not a life-changing
It
situation.
tastes
Oh yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. I get you. I get you. I get you. I get you. I mean, look, man.
I
I don't
don't
like
think
none of this
anyone's
shit.
going to
Shit tastes
complain
bad to me.
about it.
I really don't like it, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Like it's hard to do, But like if
Um,
you stick with them bitters will tear everything about you.
yeah.
It get rid of everything.
That's what the people in Latvia said.
Wow.
And they were like these shamanic type white people. And they were all over there slurping it down during COVID. Of
Hmm.
course, you said the truth. They were trying to get drunk. That's why they
Yeah, yeah, they
used the
gonna have fun.
alcohol
Shit, yeah,
base.
they gonna have fun. You can have fun with it. You know the hot toddy. They put it in shit. They was giving kids goddamn liquor back in the day, making a hot toddy with that shit. You know.
All right, we're gonna go to appreciate your submission. We're gonna come back to you. Stay on board. We're gonna go to
All
Fire
right.
Nagy. What's on your mind?
Good afternoon, everybody. Shoot, my app was acting up, so sorry if you guys saw me making all those weird emojis. I was trying to raise my hand. I realized I had to leave and come back. Um, so to the question of the room, why are pastors lying to us about deportations? I had this conversation a couple times today, and I think what goes on in our community is a lot of control, and we don't fully understand how that control manifests itself. And I believe that we have leaders, and those leaders are in the faith-based community that don't want Black Americans to become more transactional. They want us to become relationship-based, like good and evil, who we like and who we hate. And they do that because they want to be the political gatekeepers of our community. They want to be useful, and that usefulness helps them monetize themselves. You see that with the Reverend Al Sharpton, I believe Bishop Tolbert. I didn't even know who this guy was. Popped up during the George Floyd protests. All these pastors and bishops. I'm like, who are these guys? I never saw these guys. And then I started realizing, like, when I hear other people in our community talk, they say things like, we can't deal with these people over there. We can't deal. And I realize we've been kind of conditioned in a way to believe that we can't be transactional, and that's kind of the way of the world. And so I think that's why the pastors are lying about deportations because they want to get something out of it, right? They want to see, how they can monetize, uh, potentially bringing the Black community to vote, and then saying, "Hey, Latinos, give us this," or Hispanics, give us that, or immigrants, give us this, and we'll deliver the Black vote again. And so you won't have to worry about this or that. We all know we're kind of being manipulated. There's a bit of cloak and dagger, right, in American society. The whole DEI conversation was Black people were the face of the DEI conversation, but we weren't the targets of it. And therein lies the cloak and dagger. I think another lady, when you want to get to this point, talked about the Chinese being here illegally. I read somewhere that the majority of Chinese who are coming here are very wealthy. That might be why you're not seeing them get kicked them out of here very fast. And because I read something about the ones that are crossing the border have a lot of money. They're not just indigent people. Wani talked about something earlier. Yeah, I was in those clubhouse rooms, and when the Africans were fighting, and they were fighting over their ranking, and I think about going to the point where what she said, like how do these world hierarchies get established? I think over time world hierarchies became established through nationalistic conflicts. If you think back to World War II, the Japanese raped. They had comfort women in Korea. They destroyed the Great Summer Palace in China because they believe they were a superior race. They did that in the Philippines. They did it all over the place. The Germans and Austrians, they fought over the Balkans. They fought over who was the guarantors of Christianity. They fought the Russians over those things. And then, before that, the Ottomans were in control of the Mediterranean before the Western powers came. That's why the Western powers, sailed around the Cape of Good Hope and eventually went to Africa. And that's what, led to their ascendancy. And so, what Africans and everybody else know about Black Americans is that Black Americans don't fully understand the human hierarchy. We believe in more of an egalitarian role in the world, and that's kind of an incorrect way of believing things. Well, let me say this: it may not be an incorrect way of believing things, but it's an idea whose time has not come yet, and it's an idea whose time may never come. And I believe the Africans know that about Black Americans secretly. That's why that's why they conceal a lot. That's why if you look at the immigrant, they hide a lot because they kind of have a feeling that we don't know certain things about the outside world, in that the global hierarchy exists. But the global hierarchy, I believe, exists more of a nationalistic level. Yesterday, you guys had a gentleman in here asking, "Where do I travel, and what countries can I go to where they accept black people?" And Wani corrected him, said, "You're an American." And I was just listening in, and I think that a lot of our people begin to listen to the narratives that are perpetuated by Africans and Caribbeans traveling, and we don't sit there and say, no, they may not like them because they're Africans and they're Caribbeans, and they're much lower on the global hierarchy. And Americans, even if you're a black American, you're much higher on that global hierarchy. And I think that nationality has a lot to do with everything. I knew a guy one time, he went to the Dominican Republic as a Mexican. He told, and I went there as well. He said, "Hey, they hate Americans." I said, "No, they don't." And he goes, "Yeah, they treated me bad." I said, "Did you present them with your Mexican passport or your American passport?" He goes, "The Mexican one." I said, "Therein lies your problem." Juani's right. There's a hierarchy in South America. The Colombians look down on the Mexicans, and mostly a lot of them look down on the Mexicans and the Hispanic, nations. And I think more so than ever, the hierarchy is gearing toward nationality. You see that for the Russians, for the Chinese, strong economies, strong militaries. I got into a spat with a Dominican guy here recently, and I just made it known to him, "You're Dominican," and he backed way down, because he knew where I was coming from. He was kind of befuddled that I knew that, because most Black Americans don't accept that, and we don't utilize it. We will allow an African to address us out of place, or we will allow a Hispanic person to address us out of place, and we won't go to the nationalistic card. We always believe in what the pastors tell us, that we're all equal. Oh, these are our brothers and this and that, and that's not necessarily true, and they know it not to be true. Um, and so, that's what I want to, say real fast for the room, and I yield the floor.
I appreciate it
Thank you.
as usual,
Um,
Fire Nagy. Go ahead, Wani.
I want to say something real quick. You know, what's really interesting is for a long time, the white American had the reputation for being the worst tourist. They were called the ugly American. He even had a movie about the ugly American. And I found that when I show up, people are relieved. They like me better than the white tourist. I'm not lying. They are happy that they don't have to change their name, that their names are respected. They know they're going to get a better response from me than they're going to get from, and it's not all of them. And that's the sad part about white people's behaviors. You'll get a couple that will go to a temple and the man will take pictures grabbing his genitals, and the wife will be like, oh my God. Or the man will be like, oh, I want to go in and look at this church architecture. And the wife will be like, where's the mall? I'm tired of dealing with these people. So, they kind of split their behavior down the center, and but they had a bad reputation. Now the Chinese people have the bad reputation, but they had a bad reputation, and people would be happy to see a black American. And it is different. Another issue is that we frame these bad responses that black people got, people of African descent or people that look like they're of African descent, based on our perceptions of racism, when in reality, they're getting a bad reception based on the fact that they're over there trying to get asylum and trying to get mooch resources off of these countries. They know we're not doing that. So whatever response we get would be, if we got a bad response, it would be based on racism, because there's no reason to be mad at a tourist that's coming through, checking out your place and leaving. So basically, a black American can go anywhere. I have not gone anywhere and had somebody to act a fool on me, but I do see that they don't like these other people over there trying to mooch on their society. That's basically what it is.
And to your point, real fast, Wani, in World War II, the British said that about the white American soldiers versus the black American soldiers. They said they liked us more than they liked the white American soldiers, because we were more respectable. We had better manners, better decency, better behavior. And yeah, that's just what I hear too. Black Americans come, we already respect laws, despite what they say in America, and so we know that we might get thrown under the bus. The government might not come to help us, and so we come and we leave. My experience, well, I dated a Colombian girl, and she was talking about the Haitians that when they were in Chile, because a lot of the people from the Hispanic country they migrate around South America, and they didn't like them at all. And I was just shocked but this was like back in 2018, and just being told that I was like, okay, that ain't got nothing to do with me. And that's when I really started to understand nationality as opposed to what they were always telling me about, being black. And if you go here and you're black, I'm like, no, no, no. They'll read your passport. They'll figure out where you're from. I had a guy from the service just told me something like that. He was with an African guy. They got out in the Middle East, and he goes, they hemmed the African guy up, even though he had American nationality. The black American guy had to tell him, oh, and they were like, oh, okay, and they calmed down, but they were going to hem him up. And he told me that story, firsthand. He was in service.
Oh, very, very fascinating. Again, as usual on Fire Nagy, thank you for your brilliant submissions. It's very thought provoking, brother. Thank you. We're gonna go to Danzy Land and then the Cash Game. Danzy Land, can you hear me? Danzy Land going five. Oh, he went. He must have got bumped down. Go ahead, Cash.
I'll bring it back.
Okay.
Professor, I found the quote I was speaking to.
Yes.
I,
What page?
I can't tell you the page because it's an entire run-on link. I
Okay.
do have the quote here, and I'm gonna assume it's maybe 4 pages in, maybe 2 pages in, front and back. But it says, under these conditions, even if some blacks might have been considered servants at the time, would blacks be treated the same as white servants? And it says the evidence from the court records of colonial Virginia shows that in 1630, a white man named Hugh Davis was ordered to be soundly whipped for abusing himself, quote unquote, by defiling his body and laying with a Negro. 10 years later, six servants, which it doesn't say white, but it means white, and a Negro owned by Mr. Reynolds started to run away. While the whites received a lighter sentence, Emmanuel the Negro received 30 stripes and to be burnt in the cheek with the letter R and to work in shackle for 1 year or more as his master shall see cause. So this is Howard Zinn explaining that quote unquote, we were all servants at the time or enslaved, but that they had different sentencing for white servants versus black people. They started to draw a color line, uh, the way
Wow.
that they treated people.
Wow. Give me some more context. You said that's slavery without submission.
This said yes.
What's It's slavery without submission, emancipation without freedom. That's the chapter.
No, no, no. Chapter 2, drawing the color line.
Drawing the color. I'm looking in the wrong place.
Yeah,
Hold on, because
chapter,
I need that.
yeah. Chapter 2 is all about how they separated blacks and poor whites in order to draw a color line where they believe that they're superior to us, and dissolve the class distinctions to make it about race.
Wow. Yep. Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
I'm sure that if you look into that story more, because I feel like I heard Howard Zinn speak on this in front of a podium, and I think he added the context saying that there were white folks working for this guy, Mr. Reynolds, and that he wasn't paying them even in food. So the white folks got mad, and the black person just came with them. But they looked at the black dude like, you're gonna receive 30 lashes and work until you die. While these six white people who helped you, they're gonna get lighter sentences. I think it was 7 years of bondage. Let me go down some because he talks about a couple other things, but he said blacks and whites work together, fraternize together. The very fact that laws had been passed after a while to forbid such relations indicates the strength of that tendency.
Hey, Cash, hold on one second. I'm gonna let you finish that. But back to your, I'm interested in this because this book's so full of stuff. I read this book over and over and over and over again. What was the beginning paragraph? What did you say earlier? The first paragraph said, what was the first sentence in the first paragraph?
Oh yeah, I said colonial. Let me go back up. These conditions, because he talks about slavery. Oh, right here. The evidence from the court records of colonial Virginia.
Got it. I find it in the evidence.
Evidence.
Got it.
Court records of colonial Virginia, yeah. And in the second paragraph, I got three highlighted. The second paragraph is blacks and whites work together, fraternize together. The very fact that laws had to be passed after a while to forbid such relations indicates the strength of that tendency. In 1661, a law was passed in Virginia that in case any English servant shall run away with a company of Negroes, he would have to give special service for extra years to the master of that runaway Negro. In 1691, Virginia provided for the banishment of any white man or woman being free who shall intermarry with a Negro mulatto woman in bondage or free. So essentially,
Wow.
it was because remember how you bring up meritorious manumission?
Yep.
This was a flip of that. This is saying, hey, come on the white side. Don't be like the black folks who are going to be perpetually enslaved, and we'll give you benefits. The benefits
Right.
of less punishment, accountability, freedom from it. Uh, um, Let me see. The Bacon's Rebellion, was that mentioned yet?
No, you didn't, but I know where that is.
Right here it says from time to time whites were involved in slave resistance. As early as 1663, indentured white servants and black slaves in Gloucester County, Virginia, formed a conspiracy to rebel and gain their freedom. But let me see, and it mentions that it didn't work out. But let me scroll down some more because there's one last line in this same chapter where it was talking about like 2,000 white folks and 50. Oh, here it is. Here it is. In New York in 1741, there were 10,000 whites in the city and 2,000 black slaves. It had been a hard winter, and the poor, both slave and free, had suffered greatly. When mysterious fires broke out, blacks and whites were accused of conspiring together. Mass hysteria developed against the accused after a trial full of lurid accusation by informers and forced confessions. Two white men and two white women were executed. This is out of 10,000 whites. And 18 slaves were hanged and 30 were burned alive. So what they showed there is that they hit black folks harder.
Right, right, right. It's all military. It's all psychological warfare. But thank you, Cash, because you just armed me with more information. Because I must have skipped over that. But that is where the color line began. America went before America. The 13 colonies was egalitarian. You have to keep in mind that Alexander Hamilton, elite, was basically a black man. But they figured out, oh, this is a good way to control. This is a good tool of control, which is why the hierarchy that me and Wani talk about so much was so important. If y'all remember, if you look at the damn near page one, yeah, page one. Christopher Columbus identified the Indians as the slave class because King James was looking for somebody to grow his goddamn dope. He wants somebody to grow his tobacco so he can make his cigarettes. He was looking for. I'm not sure if King James was looking for cotton, but I'm sure that played into it. But King James was trying to make some cigarettes, my friend, and the Indians were the target number one. It just wasn't in them to have that type of culture. But thanks again, Cash, because that's right there. You fucking pinpointed, surgically pointed out where the color line began. Good.
And they actually, just to give some more information, they viewed Native Americans as not human. Remember
Right.
that quote? There's no people over there, just Indians. What?
Oh my God.
No people? Okay, look, what are they? Bunny rabbits? What did you think you were moving out of the way when you got here? That's what I want to know.
Well, in Christopher Columbus's diary, it's thing beats I don't understand. Christopher Columbus says, "quote they," and then he put dot dot dot. What's that ellipsis mean? Brought
Don't
Yeah, it's
know.
also it's very interesting. He said they dot 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 brought us parrots and balls of cotton and spears and many other things, which they exchanged for glass beads and hawks bells. They willingly traded everything they owned. Ellipsis dot dot dot. What's he trying to say? They were well built with good bodies and handsome features. Dot dot dot. What was he trying to say? He liked them. I don't understand.
We also have to find out why white men kept saying how handsome black men were and
Right.
how handsome. Because I mean, it's like in the way they're saying it, like they said that Congolese slave, he was as handsome as a white man. What does that mean?
Professor
Ooh.
Alon, the dot dot dots were him being surprised and impressed by how they were reacting to him colonizing and invading them. He said he was surprised at how good natured they were. That's what's said in Howard.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing,
Yep.
Professor.
Oh.
I'm looking.
Okay. I can vibe with
I'm
that.
looking at the Virginia Slave Codes of 1705, the Wikipedia on it anyway. It said that
Uh huh.
understand that what I'm trying to argue is that there were multiple different minor Dred Scott decisions, say like that. calling
Uh-huh.
you a slave without saying it. Keeping you perpetually. Oh, if you marry with a slave, you done setting their names aside from those who are white who protested harsher punishments. For this, it says in 1705 that these codes established new property rights for slave owners, allowed for the legal free trade of slaves with protections granted by the courts, established separate courts of trial, prohibited slaves from going armed without written permission. Whites could not be employed by any blacks, allowing for the apprehension of suspected runaways, and the harboring of any other person's slaves was deemed illegal. And it would be jail time for any whites who were married to Indian or people of African descent. So this is them using the law to separate white and black people and natives as well, in order to incentivize them to stay within their own structure instead of fraternizing amongst us or being a part of our rebellions.
Yeah, very true, very true. This that I tell my students all the time. This is it's all about elites. Very interesting. Cash games. You gave me some homework, my friend.
I'll let that hours
Ja-
in straight up.
yes, sir. Appreciate you again, James. What's on your mind?
Hey, peace to the room. Um, is how can I follow up with all that? Y'all are just great. Y'all all deserve a part in getting Color Six. I promise you. Especially to meet you, God, because I'm a recipient of the elderberry, especially being outside during 2020. I understand. Hey, I appreciate him and RZA Islam helping us in the southwest side of Atlanta because I have asthma. And, I was an essential worker at the time. So everything that he said, hey, I'm a living proof. Never took the vaccine, none whatsoever. I'm healthier than most of my family who did. So, just proud to be in this room. That's all. I just land.
Yeah, yeah. You say what I can't, bro. Yeah. They made me take it at the college, and I got sick like right away. Got COVID. I'm like, why did I take the vaccine again? Anyway,
Hey, wait. I don't mean to interrupt, but on that point, bro, I was telling you, I don't know if you see my comment, that bromelain, that nattokinase, and that curcumin, that'll degrade the spike proteins from the COVID, and hopefully that'll get you, you know what I'm saying, at least get, some relief and get some stuff started. And I seen like it's crazy, but tobacco makes that shit explode on microscope. They put it in tobacco and that shit
On the
just
COVID?
explodes. But
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
not COVID, the actual nanoparticles from the actual
Oh, from the
vaccine.
vaccine.
And
Great.
so that nattokinase is going to degrade those spike proteins. This is from Dr. Peter McCullough, also Dr. Christina Park. She's the one who posted them.
So,
But yeah,
interesting.
try. I posted it in the comments down there. So just try to get you some of that, and then you know not elderberry, habanero pepper. Habanero pepper and any kind of cayenne pepper, really hot peppers, it actually remodels our vasculature,
Wow.
and so it'll stop a heart attack. It'll clot your blood if you're bleeding. It is literally the kind of the homologous kind of like and now analogous fruit for our vasculature and our heart. And so it does a lot. It's very powerful, and hopefully that can start people start incorporating that into their daily diet, and
what was the
just
first?
try to get to this Sebi
What
stuff,
was the
huh?
first thing you said a person can take to help dissolve some of the effects of the
Me,
vaccine?
That nattokinase, nattokinase,
Okay.
nattokinase. These you can get these at like GNC.
I
These are
can
like
tell
minerals, like
people
these are
about
like
it.
yeah. And then it said bromelain, bromelain. I believe that's how you spell it. And then the other one is curcumin. Curcumin is
Blackseed,
the
right?
Hey,
well, cumin. You
Yeah.
know
one thing,
cumin.
one thing about that
That it's
bromelain,
the
you
it's the
better
it's
not take
it's
it
the
too much.
functional. Well, yeah, I don't, I haven't taken it, and I'm not, what I mean, I don't know, what I'm saying, and so there's dosages. Look up Dr. Peter McCulloch. He's a cardiologist, but I know, just that's at least something, what I'm saying, because what I mean, I can get you to the natural stuff, but I don't know, what I'm saying, all the way down to the once you start dealing with a whole new, because what they were saying was that they were still in vials Dr. Christina, I think it was a part of them because they pretty much were the ones who got it to where they got had to release the Pfizer report. Dr. Christina Parks them, and she, I mean, she's like a superhero to me. You know, and I was so proud of her just to see her doing it. But Christina Parks them, they pretty much what they found out was the they stole the vials, and when they actually did chemical analysis on it, it had functional groups on it that didn't exist. Like they don't know what the fuck it is. Like they don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so they it's stuff that they don't even know. And so it got into some weird stuff when they're trying to actually, because they had to like steal those vials. They weren't releasing it, giving like nothing. Like they didn't give anything. And so you're supposed to do that throughout the educational research world. You gotta share research. All right, so this is what happened in our study. We can send it over here to Italy, and then they can do theirs and see what happens in their study. And that it didn't have none of that, and they tried to hide it and hide all the side effects, and there was over 1,200 different side effects. And hopefully like getting, and that's one thing, like with Sebi's chelations and his deep cleanses, those are chelations. Those are like extracellularly, and intracellularly cleanses your cells, and it gives you the mineral content. It actually is assimilatable into your cells. It can assimilate into your cells naturally because it's plant. And on top of that, you know what I'm saying, hopefully it can get rid of, some of the heavy metals and the toxic from the vaccines and stuff. So, peace to everybody that took it, because, and I understand because I'm in the medical field. And so, a couple of my loved ones took it, and what I'm saying, I let them know, man, like, hey, don't do it, and so it's sad though, what I'm saying, and they're dealing with heart failure and different things like that now. And so, I'm wishing, like, what I'm saying, like it wasn't such a big scare tactic that they did. And it's a lot of times, like you said, with these fucking churches, like it really, 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 like Fauci, Fauci, they need to send his ass to Russia, man. Send his ass and let him do the Brittany
Is it
Griner real
true?
quick.
Is
You
it
know what I'm
true
saying?
that
That
Fauci
nigga.
was pardoned? Because one of my colleagues told me that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Biden
In America, but
preempted.
send his ass to
Wow.
Russia.
I have a
Send his
question
ass
right
to
quick.
Russia.
Go
Russia's looking
ahead.
for his
Go.
ass.
We come back
Deport
to you.
his ass.
Come back to you, Michi. Go ahead,
Did
Mickey.
I just heard him. He said, "Does nicotine destroy the nanoparticles or something,
Go ahead, Mickey.
or cigarettes or something?"
Yeah, well, so yeah, I seen a video, but it was showing it on microscope slides where they were looking at it, and it was like these square, like metallic kind of particles, and they like dump like pure nicotine on that shit, and that shit just totally just like
So
just like dissolved
I
like
wonder
mother.
what the effects menthol would have on it. Did they do an experiment with that? Because I remember when
Well,
COVID,
I don't know,
listen,
but
when COVID first came out, I remember that was around the time Biden he took menthol out of all cigarettes.
well, my thing is, it could be blowing up next to a cell too. You know what I'm saying? It could be doing some shit. It's like an explosion next to a cell or something. You know what I'm saying? So it could be something bad too. It could be detrimental to the cell. But what we just seen is just that what it does though. It's like a time bomb. It's like a ticking time bomb. It's like it just goes the fuck off, and then like as soon as it touches that nicotine, it just dissolves it. Hopefully, it don't do nothing to you. You know what I'm saying? I've been telling people who smoke Black and Miles. I'm like, man, I normally don't. But I'd be like, man, damn, man, at least you was doing that, because you know what I'm saying. At least I know that that's one thing that we kind of seen.
That's
You
kind of
know,
weird because my sister she had COVID before anybody knew what it was. Before it came out in like January, she had it in November. She thought she had the flu and everything, and I remember she had a half a cigarette in her ashtray, and I picked it up. I started smoking. She was like, "Nah, I'm sick. Don't smoke it." I guess I smoked it after, but I never caught it. Knock on wood. And then I was working at UPS at that time, and they shut the entire warehouse down because they had did the testings in there, and it was like they found strands of it there. That's like before it really started ramping up, and everybody was getting scared. And I've had so many different interactions with it, but I never caught it. I even had when they first started making the vaccines. They had. I was loading the trucks at that time, and it was like they put on the bay doors what we're supposed to be looking for. It was like if you find this box, you should call the supervisor. It was the vaccines because they were doing the next day air. We were supposed to put those in the next truck that'll take it to the plane to get it to where it needed to go the next day. I still got pictures of that shit, but yeah, that's crazy, man. I land. You can drop me back down, Professor. That's the only question I want to ask.
Yeah, appreciate me.
Hey, nah, my bro smoke cigarettes, and that nigga done caught COVID a couple times. So I mean, I don't know, man. I ain't never caught COVID, and I put it on the elderberry, man. I ain't never got sick with COVID, and anytime I done been sick, it just like as soon as I drink that elderberry, I never get to like that whole malaise and the feeling like you're sick and all that stuff. It's all gone, and pretty much you just be coughing up the rest of the phlegm, but the sickness is gone. Whatever, I don't know. It just zinc though, zinc. They used to hold water in back in the day in the biblical times. They used to hold it in gold pots and silver pots because the silver and the gold would kill the germs. And we get our mineral content through the food and through the plants. And so that zinc and that elderberry is powerful. And any other berry, either like blackberries, cherries, like it's a lot of different foods high in zinc, but you need to get it through your plant food because your body can assimilate that better, and that's the most important thing, and stop trying to rely so heavily, and that's crazy because we're having this conversation, but then that this is kind of what was like this is the biggest, this is what they was having those Senate hearings about today. Big pharma is trying to shut the little man down. You know what I'm saying? Those are the same dudes that was telling us that Rizza Islam, our brother, is a misinformation whatever, and it's like, nah, man, like that brother is a truth teller. And they spoke ill on the brother, and then they did the same thing. They never show up to the case, the lawyer and the DA and everybody, the city attorney. They never show up to the actual court case when you actually win. They be on vacation somewhere, you know what I'm saying? And they did that to my brother too. They defamed him, and shame on them. And today, they had their day in court today, and it showed the American people that, these senators and everybody is beholden to these big pharmaceutical companies and not to the American people. And they're gonna side with the motherfuckers even in the face of knowing that they are fucking wrong. They're gonna pardon this nigga Fauci. If he pardoned in America, send his ass to Russia to the gulag, like Brittany
Hey,
Griner, for real.
my
Go
bad.
ahead, Dan Slam.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interject on anybody, but I'm at my job and kind of. But
No, you up. Go ahead.
okay. I want to piggyback off of Mecky God. It's a little different and in depth, but I'm a alternative medicine student as well. I did a lot of studies. What I've learned is that the WHO accepted TCM, which is traditional Chinese medicine, and a part of the Chinese culture is based off of that. And I think with Meki God, what he's saying, what we need to do is kind of try to fight for that for our culture, as in, because hoodoo. No, no,
No,
no,
no,
no, no,
no.
hold on,
Dr.
no, no.
Sebi is black. I
Hold
know,
on,
but
bro.
Dr.
Hold on, let
Sebi's
me
black.
speak, bro.
That's why he's
Hey,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Michi, let
That's
him
not what
land
I
his
was saying. I'm
plane.
sorry. I'm
Michi, I'm
sorry.
rocking with you, bro. You going against me. I'm rocking. I'm telling you what your information. It should be interjected into the Black American culture because that is a part of our medicine. And what I'm saying is what you're speaking on is how the Chinese was accepted by the WHO, the worldwide, medical field
World
worldwide.
Health Organization.
Right. So what I'm explaining is that stuff you're speaking on, we need to fight for that to be a part of the Black American medicine culture. You see where I'm coming? If some I might be winging it, but from my studies on alternative medicine, and like you were saying, the roots and the plants and everything, that is a part of our culture. That is our medicine. And if maybe someone like you could help me fight this fight to where we could get that intertwined into the who get accepted by who, then it'll make it easier for alternative medicine to be accepted within, especially like in Florida, it's not accepted, but in California, you got Oregon and what Bridgeport, uh Bridgeport. I can't even. It's a couple of naturopathic schools, but so I'm agreeing with you, Mitchie. I'm saying that we need to fight for it on our hand. Now I get Dr. Sebi, but he's not a Black American. What I'm saying is those are the things, that information you're speaking of. We need to do that and fight for our culture's medicine, which has been pretty much
So,
incorporated into allopathic medicine, which they use the synthetics, which is fucking us up. So I was
well, that
just adding that to what Michi was saying, that we should
what?
fight
Okay, my
for
bad.
that to be like a Black American medicine. You see where I'm coming from?
Right. Because Dr. Sebi's from where? Guyana, I think. I don't know.
Honduras.
Honduras.
Nah,
Honduras.
Sebi's from Honduras, but
Honduras.
Sebi's mama and his grandmama is from Louisiana. Sebi is black American, and his father is from Haiti, and he was born in Honduras because his mom's and his grandmother left with Marcus Garvey with the Black Cross, and they wound up in Honduras, and he was born there. But as soon as he was old enough, he got back. He loved jazz music. He loved being a black American. He loved a white dude
I
called Sebi a nigga. And he was like, "Ooh, say it again." Like I'm telling you, he loved
no,
being a black
no,
American.
I
He's a
get that.
black
Well,
American.
see,
Sebi is
so
a foundational black
there you
American.
go then. So now you see that's more of our culture because a lot of his studies was did here based off of mechanical engineering and things like that. So what I'm explaining to you is, bro, I need you that fire you have to help me fight. What I'm trying to do is find a way of putting our culture within certain realms of government officials and stuff. So that
No, 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 no. I'm tired of giving our shit
no,
away.
no,
I'm
no,
tired
no,
of that
no,
shit.
no. You
I'm
not.
what I'm saying.
Hold on,
No,
hold on.
hear me out. Hear me out. Hear
Look
me
up
out.
How
What I'm
can I
saying is,
look
find out more
I'm
about
talking about
this?
grassroots.
look
I'm
up
How
talking
the
about
can I?
hold on,
everybody
hold on.
at their
Wait
house
a
Bro,
minute.
let me
Hold
speak,
all
on,
over the
bro.
hold
country.
I
on,
have
hold on. What were
How
you
can
saying
I
there?
find it?
Go ahead, Money.
I was gonna say, how can I find out more about him being an American? Because he's described as an Afro Honduran. It said he describes
Yeah, no,
himself as an Afro Honduran. So
his mother and his grandmother are from Louisiana, and he came and lived in Louisiana. He was
okay,
loved jazz
so it
music and all
says
that stuff.
he
He yeah.
learned these practices from his grandmother, his grandfather, originally from Haiti. He describes himself as a Honduran of African descent, identified himself as an African in Honduras, not as Afro Honduran. So, how do I find out more about him? Because that's all that, that's all I see on the internet.
Well, I mean, if it's all lineage based, Sebi would have a claim. He's just not an American. Well, he was an American citizen. He lived in. He's an American citizen.
One.
Um,
I'm just trying to
yeah. So
locate
so
his
I mean,
American lineage. That's it. I see the other
his oh his
lineage.
I don't know his mother. I don't know his mother and
It
his
doesn't
grandmother's
matter.
names.
I mean, we
But
can take information
yeah,
that's
but Zave, his
valuable.
daughter Zave, I actually met her over the phone.
I know how
Zave them
people in
like
New
he has
York
children
are,
and
though,
stuff. You know
because
what I'm
they
saying? They can
declare everybody a
yeah.
Black American, even if they're not.
Right.
I'm from Vegas. I'm from Vegas, but yeah, nah, he is Black American. Sabi's Black American. He stated that his mom and his he told the story about how they left with Marcus Garvey on the Back to Africa movement. They left America with the black Back to Africa. It dismantled, and then they were down in Honduras when it happened. And so his mom and his grandmother were nurses in the Black Cross.
Hey, Wani. Recently, and
Yes.
this is still on topic. Hopefully, I forget what you were fighting for. You were saying that it should be appreciated as a Black American cultural art form, and you was gonna get it added to like a not a Hall of Fame. Something.
Yeah, I
What was
agree.
that?
A lot of cultures have like what do you call it? Herbalist culture. And we have it too, but it's kind of not all over the country. We have people that are into herbal medicine too. So we should work on that. We should define that.
Oh, maybe it was you talking about a national landmark.
No, I didn't say that.
Hey,
That
Cat.
I could add that if we have more information about it.
It was a long time ago, though. I'm bringing
Are
us
you
back.
speaking about UNESCO?
Yeah, you were talking about something UNESCO for
Yeah,
Black
because
America.
we should be in UNESCO because of our cowboy culture, because of
Yeah,
all those
cowboy
music
culture.
genres. They have Mexicans in UNESCO talking about their cowboy culture. We have all these cowboys that are in the Hall of Fame and rodeo stars. We have everything I saw that other people had listed as cultural things that were listed by UNESCO. We have blown the socks off of all of those entries, but here's the problem. UNESCO refuses to talk to me. They refuse to, even Arthur has written letters and tried to contact them, Arthur Watkins. They are just non responsive. And I'm
Huh.
not really sure how where to go from there. But yeah, we have several points. And if anybody knows of a strong culture of herbalism, let me know. Email me about it.
And so, what's the best and worst of it? Michi's saying that white folks can end up taking our culture and bastardizing it, kind of how they did with yoga. While the other dude's saying that if more
Hmm.
Americans have access to our herbalist culture, it'll save more of our lives and maybe even make us be considered
Hmm.
legitimate. Because my girlfriend, who's Black American from New York, she went to TCM school. She went to traditional Chinese medicine instead of trying to learn like the quote unquote white man's way of healing people. And now she's in debt like $40,000 or something crazy. But that's because there was an alternative. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if she should have, instead of studying Chinese people, should have studied our own culture, since it sounds like there's some overlap. So I agree with both sides, but I get what Michi's saying. We got to like gatekeep, because you look up and now white folks teach yoga.
And they were calling it Western yoga. Now,
Hey,
some Indian people got angry because they said they dumbed their whole thing down to pink yoga pants and commercialized it, made all these expensive yoga classes. But,
assholes.
they didn't really, because they're white supremacists, wannabes, they didn't say anything. So I saw some little boring room of some women mumbling about how terrible it was and they're not doing it right. And like, where is your voice? Why are you invisible, Indian ladies who don't like this activity? You can't say anything though, can you? Because that's one of the qualities of wanting to be white. You button your lip. You button your lip. When things don't go your way, you button your lip. You don't say anything. That's one of the things. That's how you achieve whiteness. Now, they're never going to achieve whiteness ever in a million years for several reasons, but they want to, and that's why they don't say anything. They just mumble under their breath and feel jealousy toward white women in yoga pants.
Like what you said, let them mispronounce her name everywhere they go, and they accept that.
Very interesting how all these dynamics come together. I wanted to point out on the medicine argument that I have a lot of, I collect ancient books. I'm not ancient, but older books. And my target for collection is prior to 1920s, because in 1920, the Rockefeller Foundation, well, Rockefeller sought out to destroy the institution of education and medicine. Now, I know why he was destroying education. Education is very powerful, but I have yet to try to figure out what he was targeting with medicine. But I do know that he replaced the idea of herbal um, remedies with petroleum based medication, which makes no sense. If it works and it's free, the closer you get to what the creator made, the better off you are. And petroleum, well, we all know what that's all about. But it's real interesting. What I'm trying to say is we need to find remedies that are closer to our old remedies. But it's been a very interesting conversation. Anybody else want to contribute? I don't know if somebody else had their hand up.
I was going to say something real
Go
quick.
ahead, Wani.
There's nothing wrong with taking information from other cultures. In fact, I've gotten a lot of health information from Russian people, believe it or not, because they're not known for that. But they have some very good ideas, like the way that they train themselves to take cold weather is they dump their children in ice water.
Which is very good for you. Joe Rogan takes ice
Yep.
baths.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we notice if you play sports, that's what they do when you get an injury. They throw you in a tub full of
Mm-hmm.
ice, and it shocks your system into healing.
Yes, it does. It's very, very
Hey,
powerful.
Wani. In Norway, they said they have a culture of leaving their kids outside with
Yes.
coffee.
Fresco naps.
They leave them in cold. Leave them outside.
I remember a woman immigrated over here. She had a black husband. She was from one of the Scandinavian countries, and she left her child out in front of the grocery store. She's like, "Oh, I'm going shopping. Poop, park you right outside." That's the kind of culture she comes from, where It's fine for the baby to get a little brisk, and no one's going to run off with her child and brutally attack them. But look where she is. She's in a place where we would never leave our babies out in the public. You see, we can judge our society by the fact that we can't do that. And we can look at other people's societies and say, hey, that's great for them. And I hope that they are able to preserve that, because to get to that point where you can trust everybody around you with your child, um, that's a good place to be in a society. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get there.
Well, I was watching a psychologist that said cultures are like a a bowl of milk, and when you start putting different colors, it gets spoiled. And basically, her argument is you can't purify a spoiled bowl of milk. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if we can reverse the damage done to our culture. At this point, all I can see that's healthy is damage control, prevent the further destruction of our culture, and just kind of salvage what we have.
When people, I know that, the white racists are always saying, blah, 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 diversity, this, here's some more diversity. But what they don't understand is that diversity is good in little droplets. You
Yes.
see, the culture in Southern Europe and North Africa is very cool because of the exchange, but it wasn't because they dumped all the North Africans over in Southern Europe and vice versa. It didn't happen that way. Just a few people, incremental um, amounts of immigration, not an overwhelming of the culture. The places where that's happened, it is very nice. It is enriching. They did do a cultural exchange, but dumping an entire country of people on another group. In fact, people that don't dress like you, don't believe your religion, and are completely in opposition to you, that's a danger. And it should never be compared to a friendly exchange of culture that happens over thousands of years.
Yeah, that's called invasion. That's called warfare. Bobby Hemming used to say some powerful shit. He said, "When you know the beginning, you'll know the end. When you know the end, you'll know the beginning." Everything goes in a circle, right? The circle of life. And if you look at the beginning of the end of Kemetic civilization, it began with race mixing, amalgamation, interracial marriages, and it concluded with a group of people who didn't identify with the original owners of the land. Does that sound familiar, ladies and gentlemen? Housing, what's on your mind?
Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Wani,
Cello.
to the room. I was going to answer the first two questions you posed up there, Professor. No, yeah, the pastors, they've been lying for years. Ever since I was a little kid, right? You see the big, pretty car in front of the church. You see the pastor come out looking all sharp, but his congregation looked like they was on their last meal. And when I seen that when I was a little kid, I said, something ain't right. Why is the pastor looking all fresh to death with a brand new car and everybody's coming out of the church looking poor? And then when I started asking questions, every Sunday they go give the money to the pastor. The tithes, is that's what it's called or something? When I was a kid also, I'm gonna keep it short, my mom's used to make me go to church. She did it every Easter. I didn't know why, but I hated it. I just hated it. I just hated it. And moving on with the deportation, and as far as them making you take the jab and stuff like that, yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly, Professor. And one more thing is that throughout the COVID, I didn't do the I just did tea. I just did the honey, the lemon, and decaf tea. Never caught the virus by the grace of God.
Wow.
And I didn't take no shot.
I got it over and over and over, and I had it 3 times.
Hope you don't get it again.
Man, I got used to it, but it was 2 or 3 times. The first time I trained with the Marines, and we went to Paris Island. It's so funny. We thought that shit was gonna be academic. Wrong. They had us fucking rolling around in the sand pits, and but sand getting all in my mouth. The first time I got COVID, when I got back home from Paris Island, I thought I was gonna die. Like I was walking through the hallway, and I lost consciousness. Like I just fell, and I was like, "What the fuck?" My body just depowered, and I got home, and I got in the bed, man, and my legs stopped working. From what I was told, like from people who get hit in combat who are like dying, it sounded like what they say. They say your legs, like your body will start shutting down unessential things, like your arms will shut down, your legs shut down. It'll like preserve energy to your core. And man, my shit started doing that. My legs shut down, my arm couldn't move my arms. I threw up, and then I was like trying to yell, like, "Hey, help," to my wife, but I couldn't yell. I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm about to die." It was awful. And then
Is that, Professor, is that after or before?
before what? The jab?
Yeah.
That was before the jab. Then I got that dream job. They tricked me too, man. They I signed paperwork, I signed the contract, and
I know.
and I resigned. I had resigned from my other had another good job, and I resigned from that job, and I started working. They're like, they pulled some. Oh, by the way, do you have your vaccine? I was like, hell no, I ain't got no vaccine. And they're like, I'm sorry, but it's conditioned to stay here. You got to get it. Ah, shit.
But I was lucky because the company I worked for was a small company. They didn't enforce it. I mean, a couple of supervisors asked me. I just said no.
Wow.
And we worked through the pandemic. We literally worked through the whole pandemic. It was an eerie feeling to come out on a Sunday morning, driving downtown, and you the only one on the road. It was crazy. It looked like that movie. What was the name of that movie Will Smith made? When it's the dog and nobody's
Oh
there.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Urban legend.
That's
Yeah.
how Manhattan looked. I
Whoa.
kid you not.
Yeah, Memphis was weird too, man. Like me and my dog, they had us virtual. I was teaching virtually, which was the bomb. I was on my laptop. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I would just go
Right.
to the park and teach on my laptop. But I take my dog with me, man. We went walking through Memphis. I got scared for a minute. I was like, what the fuck? And people was really dying from that shit too, because
Yes, it was. Listen, I had a lot of friends that people I knew, and I was like, "What do you mean he's dead?" Like, yeah, he was healthy, yeah, but this is after. You follow me?
right.
After the jab,
Well, I'm getting to that in a minute.
and but I have one
Go
more
ahead.
thing, and I'm gonna
Go
land my
ahead.
plane. Wani, I just did honey, lemon, and tea throughout the whole COVID, and I guess I don't know.
Hmm.
That's what I was drinking. I mean, that's what I did, Wani, throughout the COVID.
Okay. I didn't do anything. I was told to drink this Latvian stuff. It burnt my esophagus, and I said, kiss off. And then, threw it down the garbage disposal.
But me and my nephew, we
I
was
can't drink.
talking. It just like felt something like it was different. Like the air in the street just felt different, you know. And I land my plane.
Well, my town was completely boarded up. I felt like I was in, like what do you call those things? Was going to roll down the street. One of those tumbleweeds was going to come.
Wow.
Wow.
It was really bad. They just said forget it and boarded up the buildings. Like, why is it boarded up?
Yeah, but you know how big you know Manhattan is like. It's
Oh, it's
8 million
50
people in
times.
Manhattan. It
Yeah,
wasn't
it's a
nobody in
whole bunch.
Manhattan.
Wow.
That's
I
outrageous.
can't even imagine that shit. Well, I went to Manhattan a year. I went to Manhattan a week, 2 weeks. I had free plane tickets. I flew to Manhattan 2 weeks after September 11th, and that shit scared me then because wasn't nobody on Broadway. It was like everything was closed. I was like, what the fuck?
Everything was closed. It was like it was so eerie. I was like, oh my God. Like, where's everybody at?
The energy must have been crazy because the first thing I noticed about New York was it was filled with people energy, which is
And
different
and
than
and,
where I
and
normally live.
listen, there's this homeless person, right? That I see all the time when I go to Manhattan. I go there every weekends, take care of things. And he was there at the time at COVID, right? He's still there right today.
Wow.
No mask, no nothing.
What do you mean?
He still walks the street.
Oh,
While
yeah.
everybody else was like dying,
Oh, yeah, he probably has a great immune system.
yes, his immune system was intact. Yes.
Or is the
But
fact that
he's
he's
there
not
right
around
to
anybody.
what was that?
He's not around anybody. I mean, he doesn't have to. He's homeless, so nobody's around him. So nobody's breathing on him. They're not coming like within 50 feet of him.
No, he
People don't.
walks no, Manhattan is crowded. He's there right. He walks past everybody right today. Right
And I
today.
said to myself, I said, oh, now they're going to have to do something about the homeless people. They can't let them walk around with no mask and just laying where. Guess what they did? They made them lay in the parking lot, like in the parking spaces of the parking lot. They had them lined up, like
Is,
put your
is this
tent
your
out
town?
there. Huh?
This is where you live at?
Yeah. And then they said, never mind. Just do what you normally do. What? They didn't do anything to prevent this disease. Nothing. They had the border wide open. They kept all these people coming from China and they let homeless people just run amok doing whatever they want to do.
I don't know. I just felt it was in the air.
Well, you see, these people got imported into where was that, Kansas, and now Kansas has tuberculosis. We're going back to
We just
tuberculosis. Is
talked
that what
about
we're
that
doing?
too.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
a
we're
terrible
doing.
sign. Yeah.
And another thing, I used to work with the Southeast Asian girls. They all had tuberculosis scars, and they would go to school and they would get like a card to say that they had that, and then they would of course get shunned. They were Cambodian. They
Wow.
all came over here with all different types of diseases and stuff that they had to get treated.
Where are the
You know,
scars?
It's on your lungs apparently.
Wow.
you know what else they do, Wani? I asked a buddy of mine. He lived in Mexico City, and I know some Hmong people do this. Whenever they go to the bathroom, they do the number two. They throw their toilet paper in trash cans as opposed to the
Right.
toilet. And I'm like, you guys are gonna start a cholera outbreak here. And my buddy told me that that's what, because I noticed the Mexicans do that, and the people from Southeast Asia. I'm like, put this stuff in the toilet. They wouldn't. They would just put it in a trash can. I'm
You
like,
can't. I mean, they can't because their
Their system.
habit is to do that because they don't have good flushing where they come from. They
So it
think
has a
it's
lot to
gonna.
do with their water system.
Yeah, they have to learn that we can flush our toilets here, and it can accommodate most toilet paper.
Yes. Hey, we're lucky. We're blessed. We don't have to deal with none of that. Thank God, America.
It's like
I've had to deal with it. It's not fun. It was like walking into hell. Walking into a squat toilet in a rural area is not fun.
that don't sound fun.
I can.
It's
I
just
no. Know what? I can't
piss.
even imagine.
Well, let me give you a hint. The minute
I'm
you walk
okay.
in there, your feet are wet with stale piss. So that's hello on the side
Wow.
on the cement, and you look over at three pits, and they're filled up to the brim, 6 inches high of fecal matter where people have already gone. and somebody was supposed to hose it out, but they never did. So you go in there, the woman was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I said, okay. I followed her in there. I stepped in a whole puddle of pee. And she's squatting over a big pile of turds. She never said, hey, ma'am, I'm going to pull my pants down. Nope, just pull them down like we're sisters.
Yeah. And
And
where was
you,
this at, Wani?
Kazakhstan, and you expect me,
Whoa.
I would rather go behind a tree than hover over somebody else's pile while my feet are wet with urine. I mean, I don't know what
Jeez.
they're
Mm.
talking about. That's rough.
I talked to a service member one time. He told me that in the Middle East, one time a guy was taking a shower, one of the Middle Easterners, and he just defecated in the shower. Well, I guess he told me that an African American guy going there. He was a white guy. Goes an African American guy goes in there, and he walks on this guy's defecation because the guy just he just defecated in the shower. And he said that that black guy almost beat him within an inch of his life. Because we're used to like not going into like showers with poop all over the place, and he just said that they just do that, and they probably think that somebody else is going to clean it up. And that story, boy, it kind of blew my mind. Like, wow, that's crazy. I said, you just can't go
That's
to these countries like
disgusting,
that.
fam.
Those women were looking at me like I was a different species because I was like, I'd rather do it behind the car. I'm not going to do anything in that room. I felt like I'd stepped into hell, to be perfectly honest.
Wow.
That has to be the first gate to hell. Cause like it do you want to touch anything in there? What if you fall down?
Oh my God.
What if you're 90 years old and you go in there? You're supposed to keep your balance squatting down on a pit dug in the ground. There's no seat.
I wonder if it's still there, Wani.
It is.
Why?
Ladies and gentlemen, in the jumbotron, you'll find Wani spots on jumbotron. Her cash app. Show her some love. And in addition, I still have like 20 books left. I will. I'm mailing out another batch of my books tomorrow. If you're interested in buying my book, which has a lot of the issues we talked about today, including but not limited to the cherry picked Negro pastor, the lineage of slavery, and cherry picked pastors who were trained to have sex with their congregation. You can purchase it by putting $25 on my Cash App and putting your full address and zip code in the Cash App. It'll come to you probably this weekend. Um, let's see. I think Lamar Watkins. I'm sorry, Lamar Watkins. You're up.
Hello, can anyone hear me?
It's a little low. Can you turn it up a bit?
How about now?
Now it's too loud.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm
No,
kind of new to
everybody's
this whole
a
thing. um, well, what I wanted to say was shout out to Professor Allen as well as Wani, and when she's here, Sister Nikki as well. I want to say thank you guys for the spaces that you do. I can honestly say, and since I've been on Sister Nikki's, what do you call it, her channel, her YouTube channel, I haven't really been able to say this to you two personally, but Professor Allen and Sister Wani, Dr. Wani, actually. Um, thank you.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you
not a
all.
doctor yet.
Well, to me, that's what you guys are. Um, I want to thank you all definitely for all of these spaces because I can honestly say I've learned so much inside of like 6 months, well, even three, by listening to your spaces as well as binge watching all of the posted content that Nikki puts on her channel. But honestly, I can say thank you all for what you do because without these spaces, I don't think a lot of us would know a lot of the information that you all divulge on a daily basis, as well as give us these insights to what you think of these topics and what you think of these subjects. It's always good to have more than one mind on a lot of these topics and subjects because you know not everybody knows everything at one time. So I'm glad that we can gather here and that we can actually talk about these things because they are very much needed. And as well as always, I'm very happy for this whole delineation movement because it also too is very well needed. Tired of all the bullshit, tired of all the crap that we all go through, and honestly, it's about time that we all started doing what we needed to do as foundational Black Americans or Black Americans and do what it is that we have to do to make the things work for us. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Professor, I inbox you something. Can you look at it?
Yes, yeah, my mute button was on. Yes, sir. Hold on.
And I land my plane with that.
Let's see who was next. Duh, 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 duh. Duh, 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 duh. Mickey, have you already spoken? Uh-oh. Wani, can you hear me?
I
Okay.
don't see anybody's hands up though.
Okay, I thought my phone was acting up again.
No.
Yeah,
I got it. I see it. I see it.
okay. Again, why are pastors lying to us about deportation? As we wrap up the space, I wanted to actually address the topic. I know we did address the issues of history of lying, the history of deception coming from pastors, and I hopefully I identified where it came from. It came from, just to be clear, it came from the origin of the lineage of pastors picked in the black church, particularly in the American South, were picked from a class of people who were less than divine. Now, maybe that's not fair because these people were conditioned to be of stud service. But just to clarify, these people weren't necessarily called to the cloth, as it were. They were selected for purposes of mind control. So. I want to get to the topic before we close this space. Why are they lying about deportation? Original. What's on your mind? Original blood.
Greetings, everybody. I just want to share. I put two items in the purple pill. I put it's a clean. It's called the olive oil cleanse made by Dr. Paul Goss. He had his office over there on Compton Boulevard in Compton, California, and he used to do he would do this stuff called iridology. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of that,
No.
where they can look in your eyes and tell you what's going on in your entire body. And he had told us that this procedure is so specific that when they look in your eyes, they can tell whether or not if you are heterosexual or homosexual. And I told someone about this, and then when I told them how specific it was, they was like, "I want nobody looking in my eyes." I said, "Hell, I'm just trying to get you some help. Whatever is there is there. If you need help, you need to go get it." But Dr. Goss, he was born in Georgia, and he told us that back in like the 70s, Dr. Goss was working for the federal government, putting herbs together to keep the Fortune 500 executives healthy. And he said that he had a rash on his arm, and that he mixed up some stuff in the lab to put on his arm. And they said, "Well, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm taking care of this rash on my arm." They told him, "This is for us. This is not for you." But they couldn't put the stuff together. And at that time, this is in the 70s now, they was paying Dr. Goss like 80 grand a year to put these herbs together. So he left the government, and then he started New Body Herbs. The New Body Herbs, they are designed for the genetic makeup of black folks. Because he said that if medicine was made to treat us, it would be better for everybody else because you treat the original, not the copy. And but he had started he's the one that started this olive oil cleanse. And I got this from what's brother Tabiti. He was working over at Simply Wholesome. And this cleanse here, I've shared it with a number of people. And because you mix the olive oil and the lemon juice together in a blender and you consume it, and it pulls out like because of the olive oil when it goes in and it hits that gallbladder. The gallbladder is wondering what's going on, and it causes the gallbladder to dump its content. But when it dump its content, everything comes out the back and not the front. Because I've heard of people having gallstones and they would come out the front. I'm talking male and female. And so when people have gotten back to me, they've done this cleanse. They said, I've never felt better. And I used to get together with people on the internet, and we would do cleanses. And this one brother, he was like, he thought he was clean. So he said, "You always talking about that olive oil cleanse. That's all you ever want to talk about. Olive oil, olive oil, olive." He did this olive oil cleanse, and when he saw those gallstones coming up out of him, he's been doing the olive oil cleanse twice a year ever since. But I mean, you can just do it once a year, that Dr. Gall said. But he said, but if you can do it twice, but he was like a great one. He was one of our best herbalists that we had, and he transitioned several years ago. But I just want to share that because people need to understand that we have the ability to keep ourselves healthy without going to these, as the brother mentioned earlier, these allopathic uh, killers, because that's the only thing they can do for you. They want to either give you a pill, prick you with a needle, or cut you. That's all they know. And I just share with people when I can, so that we can stay healthy. And that he also gave me this. It's a little transitional menu. I included it too. If anyone is looking at maybe not eating as much meat, or stop eating meat at all, it's a transitional menu, because see, people would ask Dr. Goss about uh, like veganism. Dr. Goss, he said, look, vegan is nothing but something somebody put their name on, and they want you to follow their instructions. He just said he's vegetarian. He said people have been vegetarian longer than people have been vegan. And he was very approachable, he was just this mild mannered individual. He was just a great person. And I just wanted to share those two items with you all, because you was talking health. And when you got your health, you are doing quite well. And so, but yeah, but Dr. Goss, and there was one lady once, she had, how people that get sick and they'll come to the herbalist in the last stages of their illness. And so this lady came to Dr. Goss, and she had some form of cancer, but it was just too late. And so her family tried to sue him, which was probably backed by the federal government. But for several years, he was not able to examine people, and there was and after, but I don't think they got any money from Dr. Goss. But Dr. Goss would never try to harm anyone when it came to dealing with their health, because he would always tell us, "Put me out of business." I have never heard a so-called practicing physician to tell someone to put them out of business. They want the money rolling in at all times. So that's the difference between our true healers and the people just want to patch you up, and then have you to come back after the patch has dissolved. And so, but yeah, but this particular cleanse here, I do it twice a year. I'm doing it in March. But this time I just purchased a cold press juicer. So I'm going to start doing some detox juicing in February, and then do this cleanse. And I'm sure that I will feel even better when I do the cleanse this time, because juicing has become more. This new juicer I have, it makes juicing more easier now. So I just want to share that, and so people can they can look at it. If you feel like you might be able to use it, then use it. And if not, maybe you could share it with someone else, and they may be able to use it. But Dr. Goss, he was the person that when I was in California, Dr. Goss was the person him and Dr. Nathan Rabb. Dr. Rabb is still with us, and they wanted people healthy. I was at one of Dr. Rabb's lectures, and a sister asked Dr. Rabb, said, "Well, Dr. Rabb, what type of juicer should we get?" And this was his response. He said, "Any juicer that you can afford." He said, because he knew that some of the people, they, socioeconomically, they had to watch their funds. And so he didn't want people going out there buying some big expensive juicer, knowing that they have, like, they got children to take care of. They got, rent and other things, and so they just wanted us healthy compared to how these allopathic doctors are. So I just want to share that. And as to your room, I don't know if you've mentioned this, but Dr. Carter G. Woodson and the miseducation of the Negro, he called out these pimps they call preachers and pastors, saying that they were just ripping people off. And I mean, and that was I think that book was written in 1933. But Dr. Woodson called them out, and it's just amazing that what these people would do, and they see now that they're losing ground because people like us no longer trust them. We just look at them and like, oh, is that what you're doing? Okay, fine. Well, you got those, but you can't get me. So I just want to share that. So if anyone is looking for some type of cleanse to do, like you only do the olive oil that one day, and you're down for a day, and then for 7 days you eat raw vegetables and fruits, and then like Dr. Goss said, you're good to go. So if anyone wants to try that, it's in the purple pill for you to try, and I land.
I just wanted to say real quickly that church attendance, because of that type of behavior and other behavior, church attendance is down across the United States, across all the demographics. They said
Facts.
three in 10 U.S. Adults attend religious services regularly,
Right.
led by Mormons. So people are not going for it. It's a shame that a lot of information that could give you some peace or, lead you or guide you somehow becomes corrupted by people every time on all of these religions. It's not just Christianity, all of them have these little boy scandals and just you wouldn't believe it. Religions that you think are pristine like Buddhism and all that. Nope. They got the same identical scandals. It's just that we're not into their world, so we don't hear about them.
They got the same identical humans running it for the
Yep.
for the wrong reasons. Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin to close the space, I want to recap on our learning. But first and foremost, I want y'all to check the jumbotron or the purple pill. Wani put something in there that was blowing my mind. It's called the Satan. Let me put it in the jumbotron. Called the Satanic Betrayal. American Christian pastors coerce congregants to take the COVID-19 jabs through covert faith for vaccine scheme. Wani, that's what I saw back in Memphis when
Hmm.
I was
They get
professing.
kickbacks. They get kickbacks to get people in the church to do whatever they say. Whatever it is, they get paid for that. That's another aspect of our government as well. People paying our politicians to do certain things. I don't know why that's allowed, but if that was dismantled, that would go a long way.
Yeah, but I just wanted to say that article, as I was reading it, is identical to my experience. So y'all might want to check it out. Um, we're going to give last words to, I think Danzyland had his hand up. Um, oh, I see Mississippi. Danzyland, since you've already spoken, you want to give Mississippi last words?
Yeah, that's cool. But I
Or
was just gonna say
is
they give them a $14 billion subsidy to all black churches. That's another reason they cracked the. Oh, excuse me, I shouldn't
Wow.
have said that. Yeah,
14
you can
billion?
look. Because I used to sell cocaine to a lot of the politics in Florida, and I bumped into one and he told me about it, and I looked it up. It's hard to find, but yeah, they pay him. And another thing, when you said preserve the our culture, that's what I was saying. I was studying TCM, Chinese traditional Chinese medicine, and that's what they did to preserve their culture is by that bullshit with the tiger medicine and all that. But I'm out. Thank you, man. Y'all have a good one, y'all.
Oh yeah, thank y'all for
Mm.
educating me. Again, this is one of them spaces where I came on here lit on fire, books open and to educate, and I got my ass sat down. I sat down and started taking some notes, so I'm very very pleased with that. Mississippi, you got last words? Go ahead and land your plane, bro.
Okay, hey everybody. No, I just wanted to speak a little about the topic. Um,
All I wanted to really say was that we all, I mean, from what I was taught, church ain't nothing but a business. Is no different than none of the other businesses that they put in the black communities and everything. They position those churches, they position these churches in our communities for years. And, you know, in the beginning, when they put it here during slavery, it was basically to prevent slave rebellions or to, you know, like teach black people, you know, to not have to not fight back or to be submissive, to be humble to their masters. You know, they had the whole slave Bible and everything. And a lot of what that taught our people now and everything is to be loyal and faithful to the church. But at the end, in the end and everything, a church is still a business. Its job is basically to exploit resources, to take what it can from the communities or from whatever it can and to maximize its profits. I mean, that's pretty much their job. I noticed that they always put them in the poorest communities. You know, you don't see a whole massive big churches and everything. You know, in a lot of the wealthier communities and everything, you mostly see most of the churches in our communities, in the black communities and everything. And I think a lot of people, black people now, are starting to see them more like, you know, as a business. They starting to see it more as, you know, exploitative. I wanted to go a little bit about what Dr. Claude Anderson wrote in his book, The Black History Reader. He kind of told us, you know, a bit about these church pastors, and he kind of told us about some of these visible black leaders that we see. On page 22, he wrote it, and he said that on Black Matters, uh, these leaders become invisible. Black leaders today have become symbolic and ceremonious. Old civil rights personalities, entertainers, and public officials have no objective basis for purposeful destination to lead blacks to or away from the conditions in which blacks are already mired in. In most instances, those blacks who wants to be leaders have not studied or examined the economic or political conditions of the black dilemma, nor have they crafted a coercive plan to improve the quality of life for the group. Their words lack academic discipline, and the solutions they propose are most often without direction or purpose. In other words, most visible blacks do not equate to black leaders. They are double agents who intentionally represent everyone, all races, ethnicities, cultures, religions, genders, classes. They skillfully identify black issues but propose minority solutions to address them. They do not even purport to represent black interests. However, whites, the media, and those seeking to influence blacks accept their symbolic leadership. Most visible blacks are wedded to the playing party politics, toeing the line as politically correct individuals and identifying with mainstream issues. They demonstrate more self interest than group interest and deliver no tangible nor measurable benefits specifically to their own race. Whether they pretend to be colorblind or simply do not recognize the suffering of their own people, they seem to relish engagement in symbolic activities that are meaningless. And that's pretty much what we're seeing today. That's essentially what we're seeing, what we saw with the churches during the pandemic. That's what we're seeing today with a lot of these black politics, these shields, and all these other people you see on television, entertainers. I mean, you think about how you saw them a few months ago and how they were all in on putting, you know, Kamala into office back then, and how when we were on these spaces and when we were, you know, out and basically telling the people that, you know, mass deportation hurt our communities and how mass deportation was not helping us and how, you know, it was they were doing ethnic erasure by telling these people that, you know, they created hip hop and a whole lot of other things. They didn't care. Those same entertainers, those singers, dancers, movie stars, they took the side of the politicians. They took the side of the media. They didn't care about ourselves, and they were self-invested in themselves. And I think that's the same. That same thing goes for these churches that are in our communities and everything. They're self-invested and they're self-interested, and they're basically in bed with these politicians. They're in bed with the media. They're in bed with their sponsors, And so you'll see them pushing different agendas, different propaganda onto Black Americans in our communities. And I think the good thing is a lot of our people are beginning to catch on to that. And so we're seeing a shift away from the churches in general within our community. We're seeing some of them close down, even here in the South. So, I mean, we got a lot of people who are still loyal, faithful to the church, because grandma taught them that and mama taught them that and so on and so on. And I think we're heading in the right direction above all. Other than that, I heard Professor Winey and a few others on the stage speak about, how the medical industry and everything is basically trying to dismiss our medicines and basically get us all on pills and everything. But you have to realize the pharmaceutical industry is like $1 trillion industry, and they make money off people being sick. And if everybody's cured or if everybody's healthy, they don't make any money. I had aunties who used to donate to the Susan G. Cole Foundation, for cancer research, finding a cure for cancer. And I had to sit down one day and I had to tell them, you know, if they cure cancer, then that means a lot of the oncologists in a lot of these hospitals and a lot of these institutes that specialize in diagnosing, treating, and so forth with cancer would be out of business. And so with the pharmaceutical companies who make the cancer treatment medications, and chances are they're not going to allow that to happen. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, um, the global cancer industry is like $154 billion, and that was in 2023. And they said that they were projected to reach 507 billion by 2034. So I don't see them as ever, they're never gonna willingly come up with some kind of cure to help anybody because it's their money, it's wealth to them. They're using our health as wealth. They're using everything that we do. They're advertising all these pills. They're diagnosing people with things that aren't wrong with them. I mean, I heard somewhere in another space that someone said, hey, insurance companies pay doctors to overlook certain things when they're doing testing and exams on people in the hospitals. They give them a bonus at the end of the year because they're making money off of misdiagnosing those people, or to ignore diagnosis, or to let something that they saw progress or advance. Like if they saw a small tumor that might be malignant or might be questionable, they'll overlook that until it worsens. And once it worsens, they get you into the same system and they can generate wealth from you. But other than that, with that, I think, and Tawani and Professor's point and everything, I do think that we should take some action with UNESCO, and basically bringing more of our issues there, and bringing more of our culture there to be recognized. But I know that they don't really want to do that because if once we get on that stage, we're gonna take back pretty much everything that's been stolen from us. And a lot of those cultures who are already up there, they're using our properties, our intellectual properties, and otherwise to make money and to enrich their culture and themselves and to make themselves look good. And we basically destroy their grift if we came up. That's the reason why they won't give us a chance.
Hmm. That I did see some of the things that we really began being listed under other people. And also, you would be surprised that a lot of the people listed on there have like a basket that they weave, that they were weaving, and just one thing about their culture. Oh, this is a basket that's woven by this culture, blah, blah, blah. And they make a big production out of it. Or this is a cloth woven by this culture. Here we are, a cultural explosion, just an explosion of culture coming out of everywhere that everyone is using. But they don't want to see that. They want to go find some obscure tribe making an obscure basket that you've never heard about and that you are never going to see or use, and make that into some big UNESCO page. Well, We're going to have to go to, plan B in order to contact them because we have some similar things. Like I said, with the Mexican cowboys, we have a whole cowboy culture. And, you know, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly, and you're absolutely right, Wani. I saw some people, and I think the people in the space who were sharing some of their private remedies and everything. I know that my great grandmother and my grandmother's her mother's grandmother, they uh they pretty much they did a lot of like what we call root work, and they had a whole lot of remedies. And I mean, they had books, and we still have those books and everything. But we don't, dole out those kinds of information or those kinds of secrets in these type of spaces and everything, because you never really know who's in your audience listening. And that we have people who are already interlopers on our culture. They will take your information, and then they'll take it and they'll profit from it, or they'll exploit it and then they'll claim that it's their own and everything. So there's a lot I would like to share about, some of the old what they call slave remedies, things that work on Black American bodies in particular to help us. That's why I never had to take any vaccine. I never wore the mask. I never took any vaccines and everything. I was walking around all 5 of those years as the pandemic was going, and I never caught COVID once, not once.
Hey, I don't mean to interrupt. I was going to say this though. And this is it's important to say.
Oh, meet you,
Sebi,
meet you,
Sebi
meet you. We're
actually.
gonna shut.
I'm
Yeah, we'll
sorry.
have another day to do that.
I know. I was just gonna say one more thing, just one thing. Sebi went to Mexico to actually get the herbs. He actually was cured in Mexico. It was a Mexican who showed him the herbs. He did go to Africa and he did get herbs from the Caribbeans and Americas, but he was pretty much shown all that stuff by the Mexicans, and it does. I mean, I'm just gonna just pay it where it's due. That's where he got it from.
Well, a lot of information has been shared today. We've learned a lot. Our pastor's lying to us. Yes, there's been a co-opting between the church and the business sector and the government. They all overlap. Whereas the church used to be a revolutionary element of foundational Black American life. It was co-opted with prosperity gospel and the like. And for those of you who recently joined the space, I learned from one of my students' parents who's at a school of theology, popular one, that the schools of theology are pushing this prosperity gospel and pushing these business models to their students, as opposed to teaching them how to heal people and teaching them how to become closer to the divine spirit, God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator, the universe, nature, or whatever you want to call the divine force of the universe. Well, I enjoyed y'all. I learned a lot. I actually have some notes. I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow. We'll start tomorrow around 9:30, on or about 9:30 Eastern. Uh, and with that being said, Nikki couldn't be with us today. She'll be with us tomorrow. We will see you tomorrow. Wani, did you have any last words?
Good night.